Me shall prosper.
Yo, can I with you? What?
ACT, did you see this?
Look, if it ain't official Dana J, Levi for Kelly,
that Minister
Farrakhan, I don't even want to see it. Just take the phone. Look, you got some weed? I gotta get some. All right, hurry up. Diesel and them here, everybody here, we waiting on you. All right.
I know that there's more. More for you, more for us.
DJ discretion.
Flow still sick, I ain't talking the pandemic.
DJ discretion.
Flow still sick, I ain't talking the pandemic.
DJ discretion.
Flow still sick, I ain't talking the pandemic.
Say you love it, what you gonna do now? Hope you're ready, cause I'm really about to put it down. Girl, you know that I will never disrespect you. We love tomorrow, but tonight I wanna spend
Chicago, nigga.
I admit I done made some mistakes.
Damn, son,
And I
where'd
have
you
some
find
imperfect
this?
ways. I admit I helped so many people, and them same damn people turn fake. I admit it was so hard to focus. I didn't go to classes. I admit that I dropped out of school. I admit that I wasn't that cool. I admit I just feel like retiring. Admit I just don't feel like trying. But all my real niggas around me keep telling me, Kellz, fuck that, you gotta keep climbing. I admit it, I did. I done fuck with a couple of fans. I admit I'm a gift and a curse. I admit that I don't go to church. I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did it. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did it. I admit I got so many flaws. Told so many lies to these bras. Blew so much money, pop so many bottles. Yeah, I fuck a bitch just because. Nigga, I had a hell of a day, but I admit I was in my own way. I admit I had my mama crying over me. What else can a nigga say? I admit I can't spell for shit. I admit that all I hear is hits. I admit I couldn't read the teleprompter when the Grammys asked me to present. I admit I love God, but wait, it's so much temptation, but wait. Admit to the drinking and smoking too much, but it helped me get through the day. Won't say no names, I'm not a snitch, but one night at the Ritz, I did some shit I shouldn't have did. When it fucked my niggas bitch. I admit that I did. I fucked my girlfriend's best friend. Yeah, I topped that in back of my Benz. I admit I'm sorry for my sins. I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
I admit it, I did it. Yeah. I admit I trust people too much. Too much. I admit I can't say such and such, but my lawyers told me settle this, even though it's bullshit. Kelly, protect your career. All these people in my ear. I admit I've been tempted by drugs. I admit that I just need a hug. I admit the devil talk to me sometimes, but the devil's not who I trust. I've been fucked by so many damn managers. Why they push me out front of these cameras? All this music got engaged them, and now they play me like a fucking amateur. I got a life, yeah. I got a right, yeah. Cancel my shows. That shit ain't right. How they gon' say I don't respect these women when all I've done is represent? Take my career and turn it upside down, cause you met I've got some girlfriends. Hell with this record deal, it ain't worth this shit for real. Ain't seen my kids in years. They try and lock me up like Bill. How much can a nigga take? How much can a nigga pray? Just wanna do my music, stop stressing me. Please just let me age gracefully. I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did it. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did it. They took my gift and they blind me. Where in the fuck is my money? Now here come this big ass conspiracy. I still got my fans, that's a blessing. Listen to heaven, just stay on my grind, and that's 24/7. And I know my mama Joanne is smiling down on me. I put that on Reverend. Been a grown man since age 11. Mine on the guap since 7. Rest in peace to my homie Kevin. I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did it. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did it. I admit I'm a freak. Used to go to strip clubs every week. But who these niggas trying to say I am? Man, I'm not, and I put that on chief. I admit I fuck with all the ladies. That's both older and young ladies. But tell me how they call it pedophile because of that shit, that's crazy. You may have your opinions, entitled to your opinions. But really, am I supposed to go to jail or lose my career because your opinion? Yeah, go ahead and stone me. Point your finger at me. Turn the world against me. But only God can mute me. I admit that I fired some people. I admit that I hired new people. I admit that those people I fired on my mama was crooked ass people. I admit that I don't own my music. I admit that I will own my music. Want it back, but they don't wanna do it. What the fuck, nigga, I wrote that music. I did that bump and grind, I did that 12 play, I did that fed up, I changed the damn game. So I deserve me a fair play. So put some respect on my damn name. Now Wendy Williams mad with me, but I ain't never offer her no drink. But I admit that she asked me, can I get a little Hennessy? Then we both turned off our phones. We drink, I smoke, we talk. And I admit that I told it all, from my good points to my faults. She said, what about Aaliyah? I said, love. She said, what about the tape? I said, hush. I said, my lawyer said, don't say none. But I can tell you I've been set up. I admitted how ever since the first day, that without knowing I signed my publishing away. I admitted I was young and caught up, so blind, yeah. Said I had dyslexia, couldn't read all the contracts, yeah. And now the truth in this message is I'm a broke ass legend. The only reason I stay on tour is cause I gotta pay my rent. I never thought that it would come to this, to being the most disrespected artist. So I had to write a song about it, cause they always take my words and twist it. Believe me, it's hard to admit all this, but I'm in my feelings about this shit. But I had to set the fucking record straight. So I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did it. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did it. I admit I love Steve Harvey, John Legend and Tom Joyner. They're doing good in their lives right now. Why would they wanna tear down another brother? Women show black men some love, cause black men, we go through enough. How can we get up off the ground when we steady tear each other down? I admit that the devil is busy, and some people beside me ain't with me. I admit that I'm gonna do this music up until the Lord come get me. Now, I admit a family member touched me. Touch me, touch me, touch me. From a child to the age 14. While I laid asleep, took my virginity. So scared to say something, so I just put the blame on me. Now here I am and I'm trying my best to be honest, cause there's forces out there trying to keep me from being an artist. I admit I'm at rock bottom, and this shit has rocked my mind. I'm calling on my hood, come walk by my side. They don't want me to shine. Women's group, my God. Now don't get it twisted, I do support them, but why they wanna bring down the art? Damn, this is breaking my heart. Cause from fathers, mothers, sons and daughters, I'm a part of the music culture. Spotify took me off their playlist. I admit that I've been underrated. I'm not convicted, not arrested, but drag my name in the dirt. All this work to be successful when you abandon me cause of what you heard. I admit I am not perfect, I never said I was perfect. Say I'm abusing these women, what the fuck, that's some absurd shit. They brainwashed, really? Kidnapped, really? Can't eat, really? Real talk, that shit sounds silly. And if you really, really wanna know, her father dropped her off in my show and told his boy to put her on the stage. I admit that she was overage, I admit that I was feeling her, and I admit that she was feeling me. I admit that that's just some shit that come with being a celebrity. I ain't chasing these ladies, no. These ladies are chasing me, yeah. And I'm only saying all this shit cause how they tryna play me, yeah. I admit that this is no disrespect to the parents, but this is my advice to you cause I'm also a parent. Don't push your daughter in my face and tell me that it's okay, cause your agenda is to get paid and get mad when it don't go your way. I know y'all look at me like I don't go through things, but I'm human. I know it's hard sometimes, but try to keep in mind that I'm human. Fuck all the fortune and fame, forget the name, I'm a human. I can't believe all the under the table shit they doing. I'm tired of fingers pointed at me. I'm tired of all this weight on me. I'm tired of everybody wanting a piece of me. Shit, I'm not an ATM machine. What do I do when I can't do what I do? How can I win if I can't win with truth? Got a couple of dead homies that I promised I would make it out this shit. And I know that God's hands is on me, nigga. I'm gonna make it out this shit. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. And I claim it. The storm's over. I admit I talked to Miss McGlynn. FYI, that's my second mother. I admit that I asked her, how am I gonna get the world off my shoulder? She said, son, don't you lose it. Sometimes you gotta go through it. They can say what they say, but at the end of the day, they cannot deny your music. Cause your music has touched people. It inspired all people overseas, everywhere. Don't worry, don't care. Cause the anointing is on you. And that's why these haters is at you. So just keep on doing you, baby. You don't have to give these fools an explanation. I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did it. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did it. What's the definition of a cult? What's the definition of a sex slave? Go to the dictionary, look it up, let me know, I'll be here waiting. Now I admit I got some girls that love me to pull their hair. And I admit they love me to talk dirty when I pull their hair. Yeah. Some like me to spank them, and some like to get brainy. And what some of these girls want is too much for the radio station. Look, I'm just a man, y'all, not a monster or beast. But I admit there are times when these girls so fine I'll chill at a nigga for a week. Now I admit I love Hugh Hefner, and through the years supported Hugh Hefner. But when he left this world he had a million girls, but we gon' always love Hugh Hefner. To Jim C. Regardless or whatever your name is. You've been trying to destroy me for 25 whole years. Writing the same stories over and over and over again. Off my name, you done went and made yourself a career. Well, guess what? I pray for you and your family and all my other enemies. I'm not gonna let y'all steal my joy. I'm just gonna keep on doing me. Now I don't know what else to say except I'm so falsely accused. Tell me, how can you judge when you never walked in my shoes? So easy to mess up someone else's life through social media. The devil in disguise. I admit I miss my brothers, but I admit they wasn't acting like brothers. Yeah, we've had our differences, but you don't turn on your brother for nothing, for no one, nada. Mama Joanne is watching, she must be turning over in her grave, yeah. I admit I had to borrow a couple of M's from the label. All these hits out, but I couldn't put food on the table. I was told I had to sell my cars. I was told I couldn't get a loan. Said I owed 20 million to the IRS and they was coming to get my home. I admit I was feeling stupid staying in the Homewood Suites. Disrespect. Sipping Hennessy, trying to figure out what happened to me. There was so much going through my head, cause I knew that something wasn't right. I just couldn't put my finger on it, but my spirit had better eyes. It told me what it saw, and it scared the shit out of me. It said get rid of them all, it's nothing but vultures around me. I admit that I love my fans for all the push and support they've shown. I admit if it wasn't for them, I would have never stayed strong. Now I'm not tripping on all of these rumors, that don't bother me. And I'm not paying attention to these haters, that don't bother me. But what blows me is when certain people turn phony. They say, Rob, I got your back, Rob, you the man. But they really doubting me. Bitch, you know who you are. Bitch, I bought you a car. Bitch, you stayed at my crib. I loved you with all my heart. Now, I don't like to brag when it comes to me, but I've given back to the community, from the non-profits to the charities. But of course, you never hear that about me. To them niggas that drink my liquor and smoke my stogies. How come you ain't on Facebook taking up for me when you're around me most of the day? And you know that I'm a good brother. Always got your hands out, it ain't no doubt that y'all niggas ain't nothing but blood suckers. Cause y'all ain't bringing nothing to the table. Yeah, nigga, and you know it's real talk. Taking pictures with me for your Instagram, but when I need you, you're quick to get lost. Robert J. and Joanne, my kids, what you're hearing out here about that? Guys, I'm sorry for this. I'm so sorry, I can't imagine what y'all must be going through. Every day it's something about me, my God, it must be killing you. I promise there'll be better days. Just keep walking straight. I know you must be worried, but just know that I'm okay. For me, things has gotten rough. Right now I can't say too much, but for y'all I will stay tough. Daddy just needs y'all to trust and believe in me. I admit that I've told the truth, and I'm still not free. Still won't hate me. They still won't stone me. Still won't chain me. Think they won't kill me. I admit it, I admit it. I admit it, I did it. I admit it, I did. I admit it, I did.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
No disrespect to Chi-Town, my home, but we've gotta learn how to support our own. I admit that my heart cries for my city, cause we're losing young lives in the city. Instead of judging me, y'all should be using me to help these kids, raise them out of depression and poverty. Now I'm not saying I'm no savior, but I could be an inspiration. This is an invitation. Man, I admit I go through so much day to day. Got 23 lawyers, 3 or 4 managers. What am I doing? Show me the way. The only thing I have left is my voice, and now I have to use it for my protection, because they left me no choice. See, my work has nothing to do with my private life, so stay the fuck out of my business and tend to your own damn life. So go ahead, say what you wanna say about who I wanna date, but you won't say that shit to my face, cause you know it ain't shit to say. Next nigga bring me some dumb shit, it's gonna be a misunderstanding, cause niggas that listen to dumb shit are niggas that be on that dumb shit. They need a life cause they ain't got no life, so they always conjuring up dumb shit. Blocking my path, they don't know the half and so they making assumptions. Since when do assumptions cost a man his whole career? Found guilty when you're innocent is the only test I fear. There is one thing that's for sure, and I wanna make this shit clear. I live my voice and represented my country for 31 fucking years. Damn it, I admit, I admit, I admit, I admit, I admit, I admit, I admit.
He told the story. He put his trial in front of everybody. Shout out to Big Vibe. What's up, big bro? Shout out to Bless One. Shout out to everybody that's here. Dream Team folks, there's too many of y'all. Let's get them like buttons up. So, Prima in the building. J Free back, y'all. Okay, J Free back. Okay. What's going on? Look, And before I start this thing, because when I start, I don't want to stop. Lena Miller in the building. Sharice in the building. Look, I don't want to call everybody. Georgia girl in the building. Man, look. So, this is how we going to do it, right? I need 25 people that can give $20 and send it to the Cash App. I need 25 people that can give $20 to send to the Cash App. Something just fell through, and I totally, man, this is crazy. I wasn't expecting for it to fall through. So, I need 25 people who can give $20. Okay? And send it to my Cash App, please. It's important. Very important. If you can, I appreciate it. If you can't, I understand. So, let's get to it. I got 244 pages to read. It's 7:59. And I'm going to try to read as much as I can until I fall asleep up here. We're going to be taking some breaks. But before we do that, I'm going to set the stage. And the stage is tomorrow is Robert's sentencing day. Supposed to be. That's what the world say. I'm praying that Jennifer Bonjean would be able to put in what she put in, and the good Lord touch Ann Donnelly, and Ann Donnelly will just say, you know what, I'm going to just set a new trial. That's what I'm hoping. Or I pray that she vacates it. Okay? Some things came out that really set me on fire. I don't know if y'all know, but some things really, 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 really pissed me off. And once again, I'm nobody to be, worried about it if I get pissed off, but it's not right. And if it was one of y'all, I would feel the same way. I don't know what the ham sandwich is going on, but another documentary was made. I'm going to watch it tonight. But the documentary was made off of Robert. The documentary, they didn't put it mainstream. They didn't say nothing about mainstream that I know of. But the documentary is called The Verdict. Then it says, the verdict is in. R. Kelly has been found guilty. The alleged crimes are some of the most heinous, graphic, and disturbing ever to go before a court. Guilty on 9 counts, including racketeering. Timeout. I need them to make up their mind which one it is. It's either he was guilty on 12 counts or guilty on 9. See how things get construed? See how they making him out to be a bad person? However, it got 2.3 stars out of 10. I'm going to watch it. Because in watching this, I'm going to see the truth. And how they trying to line this thing up. So, A lot of us didn't know nothing about it. I know I didn't. And look what happened. It's too early to be yawning. Come on, but don't do that yet. The next thing I want to show you is a video. Right? A video of HN Newsroom. They made some interesting points that go a little something like this. The title of it is Chicago Governor Signs to Remove Statute of Limitation for Sex Crimes. Let's go.
HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly, real name Robert Sylvester Kelly, also known as the R&B King. There are so many strange things that happened towards the day R. Kelly was arrested back in 2019. Occurrences that would get you to think deeper and imagine possibilities that there could have been a sort of syndicate, well sponsored by some big fish of the ocean, to drown the R&B King. And indeed some scenarios seem to have occurred conveniently to make his takedown a must-occur event that could not be stopped by anybody. One of the motions Jennifer Bonjean submitted in demand that R. Kelly be acquitted in Chicago for statute of limitation appeared to fall on deaf ears, and the court has continued to exhibit non-compliance, continuing with the trial preparations. It looks like no matter what chapter, section and subsection of the U.S. laws Jennifer Bonjean quotes, the court is ready to give a deaf ear and proceed with the bigger plan, which seems directed towards making Robert's life impossible, or if possible, keeping him away for the rest of his life. The zeal with which the authorities are willing to do this will leave you wondering what kind of higher power is likely behind this campaign to terrorize one man, and make him literally lose his life for mistakes many others have made, and are still senior citizens living a normal life. If this was just another country where corruption is a syndrome of governance, we would think it's probably the president behind this sort of malice. In the United States of America though, a country that presents itself as a corrupt-free system, we sometimes forget that there is a small group of select people that makes all the decisions for us, and that the racial color black is always largely the hunted. The day Jennifer Bonjean hinted on the statute of limitations as R. Kelly's new lifeline to cling on, I quickly took to Google and searched about it. In my search returns, I got to learn that this was indeed an existent piece of the U.S. law, that determines during what period of time after the incident can one open a legal suit against the alleged perpetrator. My search also revealed that this law may exist in some states and not in others. My concern quickly switched to whether the state of Chicago subscribed to this rule, and results show that it surely did. And to be specific, I found that Chicago was one of the several states where a statute of limitations existed for sex crimes, and that the limit was 5 years, after which the possibility of litigation is out of the question. For a moment, I breathed a sigh of relief on reading this, but a few days later, I land on this piece of news that the state did make an effort to remove the statute of limitations for prosecuting sex crimes, and in particular I repeat, for prosecuting sex crimes, in July 2019, just a few months after R. Kelly's arrest that taken place in February 2019. How convenient for Chicago Governor J.B. Pritzker to sign this into law, at a time when the biggest powers of the land were after taking down the R&B King. He made it so easy for them. And what could have been the role of the governor in this? Perhaps a deeper investigation would reveal the truth of this matter. Why does everything seem to be falling well in place to make sure that R. Kelly is delivered well to life in prison? Why would the law be changing from what favors him to what doesn't, just 5 months after his arrest? It gets me to think this could be the real reason why the Chicago charges were not scheduled to be tried concurrently with the New York charges. They probably weren't sure when the amendment of the law to scrap off the statute of limitations would take effect. And so they chose to delay the Chicago trial by a year. Just to make sure that in case the amendment delayed, they will still be in time to counteract the likes of Bonjean. And think about it, why the statute for sex crimes in particular? Why isn't it all statutes of limitation for all kinds of cases removed? I wouldn't be surprised to wake up a year later, after R. Kelly is well into serving his hefty sentence, to hear that the statute of limitations for sex crimes in Chicago has been reinstated. The job will be done after all. Looking at the way this weapon of officials that has been slowly and over time built and pointed towards R. Kelly is operating, one would be right to suggest that, if the RICO Act was to serve its actual purpose of cracking down gangs of people involved in organized crime syndicates, all the officials handling the R. Kelly case would fall culprits of this. There is no better definition of an enterprise than the anti-Kelly group of associates, who are hiding under their respective offices and implementing a prejudicial syndicate to take down the R&B king, and to ensure he dies in prison. Shakita says, even if we woke up to a life sentence for R. Kelly, I wouldn't be surprised at all considering that the authorities are already operating like corrupted folks, ready to do anything to please a few individuals who want R. Kelly off the earth's surface. In fact, what Jennifer Bonjean is doing I would refer to as reverse engineering what has already been predetermined. Right now Bonjean has one of the hardest jobs in the world. There is no harder job in the US than to be fighting against billionaires, legislators and the entire legal system. Bonjean's only hope to win this case is the possibility that the entire system cannot be in this loop of prejudicial character. In other words, hope that this case goes to appeal and meets a sane judge to mitigate the situation. This, however, will have to be a strong-spirited judge, to throw a foot at the possibility of serving justice no matter the circumstances surrounding the case. One that cares more about doing the right thing than keeping his or her job. A judge that believes and trusts in God and not man or money because that temptation will be too much. According to Journal. Indeed, how can the laws be changing right in time to match the R. Kelly trial schedule, and also to match his type of case, right in the city of case jurisdiction? What a coincidence? And this is just one of the many clues that these people could actually be involved in a takedown witch hunt. All court responses to Bonjean's submissions have been oppositional and single-sided. No one seems to care what the law asks of them. Meanwhile, every clause that has been used against R. Kelly seems to have questionable relevance to the case. Starting with this, and then the RICO charges, plus the Mann Act violations. The flight risk allegations that saw him denied bail also make me sick to the stomach. According to Brenda Jones, these legislators and authorities are forcefully making us imagine that child pornography is very important. A matter that they should get out of their skins to combat. But what have they done about the inadequate gun laws? Guns are killing people every day here in this country, and no one is going hard on the laws, citing multiple school shootings, and the recent gun attack in California. Do they really care about lives of citizens, or is it only certain people in particular cases that are important? That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your.
On that note, when it hit, before the hit, Robert had a meeting with the Honorable Dr. Louis Farrakhan. From that point, some things were shared with Robert. What was shared with Robert was this of what I'm going to play for you.
That Minister Farrakhan asked Rob R. Kelly was, my brother, do you own your masters? And Rob looked at him and said, I'm working on it. I just found out a couple of months ago that I don't own my masters and that I've never owned my masters. And Minister Farrakhan closed his eyes, dropped his chin to his chest, stayed there for about 10 seconds. When he lifted up his head, he said to him, my brother, do you know that they did this to Michael and to Prince? and they're about to do it to you. And I was blown away. And Rob expressed to the minister that he had found out that his catalog at that time was worth $950 million. $950 million. And Minister Farrakhan looked at him and said to him, "My brother, they are going to try to kill you." And he said to him, "And if they can't kill you," he then pointed to me, he said, "they're going to try to kill him. And if they cannot kill him, they're going to try to kill and destroy everyone connected to you." Now, as you can imagine, hearing that my life was now in danger, I was just blown away. That Minister Farrakhan.
So from that point, now that we hear it again, which is equivalent to $9 billion via said facts. So now after hearing that, we about to go in. And when I say we about to go in, we about to go in. 244 pages worth, or as much as I can read before I fall out. Sitting right here. I'm ready. Are you ready? So go get your juices, something to eat, and I'll be back after the song. You feel me? But we going in. Let's go.
I hate to do this, but no, I have to. I have to talk to somebody.
Oh, I know I've read all the.
My bad. I don't want that song.
I'm sick and tired of the games you play. Every move I make, yeah, it's got something to say. Scandalize my name when you see it in the paper. Trying to turn it all around when it wasn't that way. Everybody is trying to figure me out. What the hell is wrong with y'all? Just let me live my life. I can't go one day without y'all in my face. Y'all done lost your minds if you don't hear what I say. Cops chase me when I'm standing still. You know I ain't done shit wrong, so why you want me in your cell? You don't like my songs, well it pays the bills, and you cut me down, cause I keep it real. Sometimes I wanna fly far away from here to another place. It ain't worth these tears. Sometimes at night when I close my eyes, I know the haters are busy making up hate lies. Sometimes I laugh, trying to keep from crying. If I was playing out of love, then tell me who could I trust? See, I worked so hard just to get ahead. If it wasn't for God, I'd probably be dead. Sometimes I think y'all trying to pull me down, but y'all wasting y'all time. I Got your haters figured out. If you had your way, it'd be lock and key. Everywhere I go,
Okay, Sweet Pea, thank you.
trouble follows me. Where the hell is my father? Shit, it hurts sometimes. There's a hole in me, and it rocks my mind. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. When was your last confession? Truth is he led without a care, and that was more than I could bear. When you need my help, I never tell you no. When I need your love, you got somewhere to go. I'm getting sick of this shit, but I'm not gonna quit. I've come too far, gotta keep my pockets big. I get mad as hell, but that's okay. Kick off these shoes, cause I'm here to stay. I gotta let you know, got no time to play. So feel me, and all that you hear me say. What I'm building up, you can't tear it down. Cause it's built on solid, rockland ground. We don't die, we multiply. Hit after hit, living platinum style. Keep my head up high, looking toward the sky. Nothing in my view, hey, I can fly. See, on this page, I can't take no more. And if you feel me, raise your head and show. This is what I feel. Ooh. Oh. This is what I feel. Feel me. Feel me. Feel me. Ooh. Hey. Feel me. Westside. Tell me, can you feel me? Hey. Eastside. Tell me, can you feel me? South. Southside. Tell me, can you feel me? Feel me? Feel me? Feel me?
I said we going in. Hold on. I need 18 more people if possible. 18 more people. 18 more people if possible. 18 more people. I appreciate the ones that have already, but I need 18 more people. Thank you so much. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Ain't no need to put it off, because ain't nobody going to do it right. So, hey, let's do it right. United States versus Kelly. Dear Judge Donnelly, defendant respectfully submits this letter in connection with defendant's sentencing hearing currently scheduled for June the 29th, 2022. Defendant has already submitted a sentencing memorandum that addresses defendant's position that the guidelines range for his convictions is 168 to 210 months. Upon consideration of all factors set forth in 18 U.S.C. 3553A, defendant contends that a sentence that exceeds 10 years imprisonment would be greater than necessary to address the purposes of sentencing in this unique case. Background. The government argues for a sentence that exceeds 25 years imprisonment. A 25-year sentence is tantamount to a life sentence. for defendant who was 55 years old. Although defendant has been convicted of serious offenses, there is far more to the picture than the government allows. Defendant's convictions involve 4 victims who describe conduct that is simply not deserving of a de facto life sentence. Importantly, defendant represents significant mitigating evidence detailed in 2 reports prepared by Dr. Park Dietz and Renee Sorrentino, and supported further by collateral sources and supporting letters. The reports explore inter alia, defendant's traumatic childhood, including evidence of a severe history of sexual abuse by family and non-family members. Defendant's history and characteristics weigh in favor of a more lenient sentence than proposed by the government, because a 10-year sentence would serve the legitimate purpose of sentencing. Defendant urges this court to impose a sentence not to exceed 10 years imprisonment. Argument. A sentence in excess of 10 years imprisonment is more than is necessary to comply with the purpose of sentencing. Defendant respectfully asks this court to sentence defendant to a term of less than 10 years imprisonment in light of all relevant factors, including the nature and circumstances of the offense, the history and characteristics of the defendant, the need for the sentence to reflect the seriousness of the offense, to afford adequate deterrence, and to protect the public from future crimes by the defendant. A. Legal standard. A district court should begin all sentencing proceedings by correctly calculating the applicable guideline range, which should be the starting point and the initial benchmark, Gall versus United States. After proper calculation, a sentencing judge considers the 7 factors set forth in 18 U.S.C. 3553A, the nature and circumstances of the offense and the history and characteristics of the defendant, the 4 legitimate purposes of sentencing as set forth below, the kinds of sentences available, the applicable guidelines range itself, and relevant policy statement by the Sentencing Commission. The need to avoid unwarranted sentence disparities among defendants, and the need to provide restitution to any victims, 18 U.S.C. 3553. Also see also Gall. In determining the appropriate sentence, the statute directs judges to impose a sentence sufficient but not greater than necessary to comply with the purposes of sentencing, which are: A. To reflect the seriousness of the offense, to promote respect for the law, and to provide just punishment for the offense. B. To afford adequate deterrence to criminal conduct. C. To protect the public from further crimes of the defendant, and to provide the defendant with needed educational or vocational training, Medicare, and other correctional treatment in the most effective manner, 18 U.S.C. 3553A and 2. Analysis. We're going into the analysis. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I just got sent something. Hold on. Please don't send me nothing crazy. Okay. I need 17 more folks that can, if you can. 17. Okay, analysis. The nature and circumstances of the offenses. While it is true that defendant has been convicted of serious offenses, defendant rejects the government's contention that he committed these crimes as part of a calculated and methodical enterprise. Using this platform as a larger-than-life musical persona, using his platform as a larger-than-life musical persona and his deep network to gain access to teenagers, notwithstanding the government's successful effort at overwhelming the jury with excessive bad character evidence, disguised as evidence relevant to the means and methods of a non-existent enterprise. Defendant was convicted of abusing 4 young women: Stephanie, 17, Geronda, 16, Jane, 18, and Faith, 19. The conduct was unrelated, sporadic, and dispersed over the course of 2 decades. While it was undebatable that the jury found defendant guilty of serious crimes, the government's portrait of defendant as a monster preying on young teenagers is neither accurate nor fair. First, defendant was convicted of a single count of sexual exploitation of Stephanie, stemming from an isolated occurrence in 1999. The conviction was based entirely on her uncorroborated claim that she was 17 years old when defendant video recorded her in a consensual sexual encounter. Although the government emphasizes that defendant provided his phone number to Stephanie when she was 16 years old at a McDonald's in Chicago, there is nothing in this record that reflects that defendant spoke to Stephanie, knew Stephanie's age, or pursued her. Indeed, it was Stephanie who later sought out the defendant, eventually contacting him and agreeing to engage in a consensual sexual relationship with him. Any claim that defendant enticed Stephanie or lured her into a relationship is unsupported by the record. Although young, Stephanie was not a minor under Illinois law, and her sexual acts with the defendant were legal. Even if she now regrets them and has a better understanding of her own vulnerabilities as a young woman, the offense of recording a sex act with a consenting 17-year-old is a serious one. But on the continuum of production of child pornography offenses, the unique circumstances of this offense are not particularly egregious, as it did not involve an act of child sexual abuse or an act of coercion or violence. Second, defendant was convicted of separate racketeering acts related to Geronda, who claims she was 16 years old when she commenced a sexual relationship with defendant. Defendant's convictions for conduct directed at Geronda are serious and carry severe penalties, as they do involve claims of child sexual abuse. That said, defendant's forced labor conviction related to Geronda is highly tenuous, as argued extensively in defendant's Rule 29 motion. The fact that a jury returned a verdict in the government's favor on this count is likely the result of being overwhelmed by excessive bad act evidence, and not because the government's evidence of an isolated act of oral sex followed by a physical assault is compelling evidence of forced labor. Okay? As far as forced labor offenses goes, this is simply not a serious one, primarily because it is not forced labor. Unlike true forced labor victims, Geronda was not living in a condition of servitude or threatened with physical violence to keep her in a position of prostitution or domestic service. Having nonetheless been convicted of forced labor, defendant faces the severe penalties of the offense, but the conduct cannot be squared with paradigmatic forced labor cases. Okay? Third, hold on. I'm going to give you an update. Hold on. I thank y'all so much so far. I need 13 people, if possible. 13 people. I'm down 13 more. If I can get 13 people to send $20, I'll be great. It'll be perfect. But I thank y'all so far. I don't do potential scams. Don't call my phone. I don't know who the potential scam person is, but I don't do potential scams. Just letting you know. So if you're watching me, just know that potential scams don't go this way. Okay? I thank everybody so far. I need 13 people. 13 more. Okay? All right. Third, defendant was convicted of several offenses related to Jane, including a Mann Act violation in early 2015, a Mann Act violation and related child exploitation charge in late 2015, and a forced labor offense. The offenses, while serious, contain mitigating circumstances that this court should consider when deciding the nature and circumstances of the offense. First, it is undisputed that at the encouragement of her mother, Jane falsely told defendant she was 18 years of age when she met him at a hotel in Florida in early 2015. Indeed, the meeting was engineered by Jane's parents, contrary to the government contention in FN 15 of its sentencing letter. Defendant was not on notice of Jane's age when they met at the hotel. Jane expressly testified that she lied to defendant about her age, and that when the police arrived at the hotel, defendant confronted her about her age. Jane reassured him that she was 18. Like I said, if she was underage, why the police didn't do nothing about it then? Because she had an ID that said she was 18. Make it make sense. Defendant invited the police officers into the hotel room, who proceeded to check Jane's identification. Well, let's go here. That kills the notion that defendant, Robert Kelly, ran out the back door. Because he ain't ran out no back door. He let the police in as they proceeded to check Jane's identification. It's right here. Either Jane possessed a fraudulent identification or the police could not do math. Either way, the police went about their business after confirming that Jane was 18 years of age, and defendant was none the wiser. It is difficult to follow the government's contention that this incident put defendant on notice that Jane was 17 years of age. When police officers came to his room, checked Jane's ID, and then left her there apologizing for the intrusion. As argued extensively in his Rule 29 motion, defendant invited Jane to California with him under the mistaken belief that she was 18 years of age. There was no inducement of any kind on the part of the defendant. Rather, it was Jane's parents who shamefully and illegally pushed their daughter into a sexual relationship with the defendant. Hold on. Sorry about that. Here we go. Where was that? Okay. There was no inducement of any kind on the part of the defendant. Rather, it was Jane's parents who shamelessly and illegally pushed their daughter into a sexual relationship with defendant. Defendant maintains that his conduct violated no laws. The jury said otherwise, but the nature and characteristics of this offense are mitigating, given that defendant was duped into believing that Jane was a consenting adult, and there was no hint that defendant used coercion or force in connection with this Mann Act violation. As to the Mann Act violations and child pornography offense related to Jane and defendant's second trip to California in 2015, the nature and circumstances of the offense are mitigating. In late 2015, Jane and defendant were in a legal relationship in Illinois, a relationship her parents condoned. Oh, wow. When Jane was a month or two shy of 18 years, when Jane was a month or two shy of her 18th birthday, the couple traveled to California in connection with defendant's performance schedule, where they engaged in consensual sexual activities. Defendant apparently video recorded one of those sex acts. The sexual activity, while legal in Illinois, was illegal because in California, the age of consent is 18. The filming of the sex act was illegal under federal law because Jane was not 18. Defendant faces severe penalties for these offenses, but the circumstances are not overly aggravating, where they did not involve coercion, violence, threats of violence, or a particularly young child. Fourth, defendant was convicted of several offenses related to isolated sex acts with Faith, who was not a minor. As argued extensively in defendant's Rule 29 motion, the government evidence of Mann Act violations and forced labor as to Faith was wanting. Even if this court disagrees, the nature and circumstances of the offenses pertaining to Faith were mitigating, even by Faith's own accounts. In connection with racketeering Acts 12 and 14, Faith's testimony reflects that defendant invited her to New York for his performances, as she accepted, although the Mann Act violations are predicted on Faith's claim that defendant exposed her to herpes. Faith never contracted genital herpes, a mitigating fact. Oh, wow. So now Faith never had herpes. Look at this. Genital herpes. Look at this. Turning to the forced labor offense related to Faith, as argued, super isolated sexual acts, even unpleasant ones, are not forced labor. In its best light, the government's evidence showed that defendant directed Faith to give him oral sex and grabbed her neck before placing his penis inside her mouth. Faith later testified that she did not want to do it. She never claimed that she was forced or felt threatened to comply. The forced labor statute was not enacted to remedy isolated occurrences like the one described by Faith. Notably, even Faith refuses to call herself a victim and characterizes her interactions with defendant as her choice. On cross-examination, Faith admitted that she was not a victim and had made a choice to be with defendant. Question: in one of the podcasts we spoke about this morning, the paper route, on that show, you said during that interview, I don't like the word victim because I don't feel like I'm a victim. I'm a young woman. And let's be clear. I made a choice to be involved with that person. Do I feel like everything he did was right? Hell no. But I had a choice. And that's why I walked away. I did not move in with him. I did not live with him. I did not take any money from him. There's a choice that you have to make. You said that. Answer: correct. You made a choice. Correct. And you're not a victim. Answer: Answer, correct. At that moment, Gloria already said, up, there goes our lawsuit. So now they're trying to interact and bring it back. Come on now. And it's on the recross at 2385 in the transcripts. The government focuses primarily on the excessive other bad act evidence that it placed before the jury to make its case that defendant's conduct was exceptionally serious. The government places outsized emphasis on 30-year-old conduct that was never proved beyond a reasonable doubt, some of which was never shown to be the product of any coercion. More than one witness testified against defendant reluctantly, clearly cooperating because of government pressure. At least one of the government's witnesses, an alleged victim, which was Azriel, which was Geronda Pace, sent an unsolicited letter to defendant apologizing for her testimony, suggesting that her testimony was strong-armed. 1. In the letter dated April 7, 2022, one government witness wrote, Rob, I have so much to say. Please let me know if you even want me to write. I know writing isn't your thing. Call me if it's easier for you. I hope you know I never, in all caps, I never wanted anything to do with this. I even paid a lawyer to try to avoid it, but I was threatened. It kills me every day. Love, your ride or die. What? P.S. I hope you know I would never want to do anything to hurt you. My hands were tied, and they had me backed in a corner. I tried to send a birthday card, but it was returned because the envelope was purple. I hope to hear from you. I'm lost without you, my best friend. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I was wrong. This ain't Geronda. Ooh, this ain't Geronda. I stand corrected. Wait a minute. I even paid a lawyer to try to avoid it, but I was threatened. It kills me every day. Get the hell out of here. This is faith. Wait a minute. I have so much to say. Please let me know if you even want me to write. I know writing isn't your thing. Call me if it's easier for you. I hope you know I never wanted anything to do with this. I even paid a lawyer to try to avoid it, but I was threatened. It kills me every day. Love, your ride or die. XXXXX. FAITH. I be damned. I be damned. FAITH. I'm confused. Wow. Azriel. It's not enough X's for Azriel. MOMABE. It's too many letters for that. ZELL. It's not enough X's. It's not enough characters for how many X's it is. FAITH. It fits perfect. It fits perfect. It fits perfect. P.S. I hope you know I would never want to do anything to hurt you. My hands were tied, and they had me backed in a corner. I tried to send a birthday card, but it was returned because the envelope was purple. I hope to hear from you. I'm lost without my best friend. So this is the second supposed to be victim that sent something. Because I know Geronda sent something that says something close to this. But this is Faith. The government seeks to sentence defendant to a sentence that would see him in prison until his 80s. As an African American man with diabetes and other health concerns, defendant is unlikely to see a prison sentence through until his 80th birthday. A de facto sentence of life is unjustified here, notwithstanding the government's belated effort to prosecute defendant for untimely offenses that the government only developed an interest in prosecuting after the airing of the docuseries Surviving R. Kelly. 2. The history and characteristics of the defendant. Defendant is widely accepted as a musical genius with a rags to riches story. He is considered the greatest living R&B singer and has earned multiple Grammy Awards. He has written and produced music for celebrated artists like Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. Notwithstanding his legendary status, Robert Kelly is a man with a rich and complicated story that is highly relevant to this court's goal of fashioning an appropriate sentence for him. Defendant has been portrayed by the government and the media as a one-dimensional villain, undeserving and any measure of humanity or dignity. This court is charged with considering defendant's unique history and characteristics and rendering an appropriate sentence. Defendant's history and characteristics reveal that he is not an evil monster, but a complex, unquestionably flawed human being who faced overwhelming challenges in childhood that shaped his adult life. This evidence is critical to understanding how and why defendant finds himself in the current situation. As acknowledged in the pre-sentencing investigation and report, and set out more fully in extensive reports prepared by Dr. Park Deitz, MD, MPH, PhD, and Dr. Renee Sorrentino, MD. Defendant experienced a traumatic childhood involving severe, prolonged child sexual abuse, poverty, and violence. His victimization continued into adulthood where, because of his literacy deficiencies, defendant has been repeatedly defrauded and financially abused, often by the people he paid to protect him. Dr. Deitz report focuses on adverse childhood experiences, illiteracy, victimization during adulthood, the question of coercive control, the efforts of stardom, and positive character traits. Exhibit A, report of Dr. Park Deitz. Incorporated into Dr. Dykes' report are findings of Dr. Daniel Martell, PhD, who conducted neuropsychological testing of defendant. Dr. Sorrentino's report contains a complete history of the defendant and focuses on defendant's sexual and relationship history, including a detailed discussion of the sexual abuse he suffered as a child. Exhibit B, report of Dr. Renee Sorrentino. Dr. Shante Alexander, ED, conducted collateral interviews in connection with these reports. The reports are lengthy, and defendant will note, quote, from them extensively, but will highlight certain portions. Example C, expert CVS. Critical to understanding the history and characteristics of the defendant is understanding the traumatic childhood that shaped him. As Dr. Deitz writes, traumatic childhood events such as abuse, neglect, and witnessing experiences like crime, parental conflict, mental illness, and substance abuse can result in long-term negative effects on learning, behavior, and health, often referred to as adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. These types of events create dangerous levels of stress that can derail healthy brain development and increase risk of smoking, alcoholism, depression, heart disease, and dozens of other illnesses and unhealthy behaviors throughout life. Dr. Dietz opines, the defendant endorses, opines that defendant endorses a significantly high number of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, that cannot be overlooked when considering his history and characteristics. Dr. Dietz writes, many of Mr. Kelly's problems are now known to be adverse outcomes associated with cumulative ACEs, including but not limited to below average academic and literacy skills by kindergarten age, lower school engagement, learning behavior problems, not complete high school, sexually transmitted disease, having 50 or more sexual partners, anxiety, panic disorder, and criminal conviction. Separately, there is now substantial evidence that a history of being sexually abused as a child is associated with subsequent conviction for sex offenses. As set forth in detail in Dr. Dietz's report, defendant grew up in poverty and experienced a chaotic home life. One of defendant's longtime employees and friends aptly writes in a letter of support, Robert was born in poverty, but even as a kid, he had a passion for music. He shared with me some of the abusive circumstances he grew up in. It was a horrible environment for any child, and Robert is amazingly resilient to have even survived it. As a young adult, he was homeless and earning money as a street performer on the frigid streets of Chicago. Eventually, his hard work and talent earned him a record deal. But that deal wouldn't take away his illiteracy or the traumatic experiences he endured. Exhibit D, letter of Diana Copeland. Whoa! Whoa! Hold on now. You can't convict that man. Because now all of the government witnesses are writing letters of encouragement to Robert and for Robert. Let's make it make sense. Defendant never knew his father and was raised by his mother and stepfather, who by all accounts were heavy drinkers and would sometimes violently fight. During one vivid fight, defendant's stepfather pushed his mother and her dress got stuck in the car door before defendant's stepfather drove off, dragging his mother for a short while sons threw bricks at his car. By objective accounts, defendant and his two brothers suffered physical abuse. Wait a minute. On one occasion, defendant's mother grabbed... Defendant and his two brothers suffered physical abuse at the hands of their mother, who disciplined them with whoopings with cords and switches. On one occasion, defendant's mother grabbed a knife to threaten defendant and his brothers and accidentally stabbed defendant in the left arm. Neither the defendant nor his brothers considered the punishments meted out by his mother as abusive. Indeed, defendant's mother was beloved by her children. Defendant lived in a violent neighborhood with significant gang and drug activity. Defendant steered clear of gang and drug pressures, but still witnessed significant violence that made a lasting impact on him. For example, at the age of 14, defendant was shot in the arm with a .22 round while riding his bike down the block. Critically, defendant experienced multiple sources of childhood sexual abuse and premature sexualization that shed significant light on some of his behaviors. Dr. Sorrentino and Dr. Deitz write at length about how defendant was sexually abused as a child for many years by his sister. Both of defendant's brothers report being sexually abused by blank. They whited it out. Defendant was also sexually abused by a landlord and a family friend known as Mr. They whited that out too. When defendant was only 6 or 7 years old, blank started molesting him. The abuse included oral sex and intercourse and persisted into middle school. Blank began dating their first cousin. Whoa. Blank began dating their first cousin, and she would have defendant take Polaroid pictures of them having sex. Mr. Blank sexually abused defendant on a weekly basis during the same general period of time. The abuse included oral sex and anal sex. In reading this, I had to stop. In reading this, I find it funny how people can call this man gay and do this and do that when he was taken advantage of. But these some of the same people, when you touch on something that they did, or they want to zap out, oh my God, that's my trauma. So what about Robert fucking trauma? I am to the point now where this shit will get extremely ugly the next time I come across somebody saying Robert is gay or whatever. I'm not going to hold back nothing. This shit is traumatic. And it's triggering. And I'm only on the 9th page. So when people sit back and say, he's gay, oh my God, he fucking boys, he doing that, he doing that. And then when somebody touch on that shit, it's like, oh no, yo, don't do that, don't do that. Fuck that shit. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. So it's either y'all gonna give Robert in the same respect that y'all motherfuckers want people to give Larry. If not, then the gloves are fucking off and we can do the damn thing. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And this selective outrage shit is bullshit. This shit is uncontrollable. It's fucking... This is the worst shit I've ever read. Outside of what I already know. This shit ain't nothing to joke about. Just like when Larry went to jail. That wasn't nothing to joke about. When will people get out of their fucking childish ways and look at a life? I can show you, but I can tell you. I promise you that. I can show you, but I can tell you. Dr. Sorrentino opines that defendant's history of childhood sexual abuse should be considered a mitigating factor in his sentencing hearing. It is my opinion, with reasonable medical certainty, that Mr. Kelly's history of childhood sexual abuse is consistent with the definition of mitigating factors as any fact or circumstance that lessen the severity or culpability of the criminal act. The following evidence supports this opinion. 1. Mr. Kelly's history of childhood sexual abuse represents a hardship of circumstance that was out of his control. 2. This history has been described in scientific literature as contributing to adult hypersexual behaviors. 3. Mr. Kelly's adult hypersexual behaviors were factors in his criminal convictions. Exhibit B at page 22. Defendant suffered other childhood trauma, including witnessing the drowning death of his first childhood girlfriend, Lulu. Oh my God, bro. When they were 8 or 9 years old, defendant and Lulu lived in Chicago Heights and were walking near a river when another boy pushed Lulu into the river. Defendant did not know how to swim and began screaming as he watched his friend drown. Multiple sources confirmed this traumatic event and opine that it had a significant impact on the defendant. That's enough to make somebody go crazy alone. Defendant is functionally illiterate. Defendant's inability to read and write as a child was a significant source of shame and embarrassment that persists to this day. Defendant was bullied as a child because he could not read or write and eventually dropped out of high school after being held back several times. Defendant spoke of the shame and fear he experienced later in life when accepting Grammy Awards since he could not read the teleprompter. Dr. Dan Martell recently examined defendant and reported that he had significant impairments in all areas of academic functioning, placing him in the bottom 1st to 3rd percentiles and at the early elementary school level, i.e. 1st to 3rd grade overall. Dr. Martell's testing indicated that Mr. Kelly's cognitive abilities are not evenly developed, such that his full-scale IQ, which fell in the borderline range FSIQ equals 79, does not adequately reflect his overall level of intellectual ability, which is more likely in the low average range, in part due to his lack of school learning. Defendant's literacy deficiencies have led to chronic victimization in adulthood. Defendant has been financially exploited his entire adult life. At one point in his career, he was told he was worth $900 million. He is now destitute. I'm assuming that word means broke. Dr. Dietz also details a number of positive attributes of the defendant as reported by collateral sources. Defendant is by all accounts a generous and forgiving person. Defendant has employed his family and friends and continually re-employed them after they stole from him. One of defendant's friends recounts, "He really has a good heart. He's not a bad person. He has a real forgiving heart, you know. People that did things to him, people around him that sued him and came back, and you know, he forgave them and gave them their jobs back. And you know, he's real. He's a real kind-hearted person. I know who wrote that. Example A at page 29. I definitely know who wrote that. Another friend described defendant as follows. He is compassionate and empathetic. When Robert learned of a shooting that took place that claimed many lives and devastated a small community in Virginia, he stopped what he was doing and wrote a song called Rise Up, which to this day is still played, and every penny of the proceeds is shared by the families, the college, and community. Example D, letter from Alicia Evans. Okay, Lily.
Your Google Home isn't set up yet.
Another time I recall with honorable mention was when Robert saw on the news that a horrific incident had taken place at the E2 nightclub in his hometown. There had been a stampede where 21 people were trampled to death. Robert gave 21 families whom he did not know money towards funeral expenses. Defendant is also described as down to earth and someone who is chewed the celebrity life, more comfortable keeping close to the community of his childhood. Reports from Dr. Dietz and Dr. Sorrentino and supported letters provided additional and significant evidence of defendant's history and characteristics. 3. Reflecting the seriousness of the offense. A sentence that does not exceed 10 years reflects the seriousness of the offense, promotes respect for the law, and provides just punishment. 4. Affording deterrence and protecting the public. The government has no basis to predict that defendant would offend again. At the age of 65 years old, if sentenced to a reasonable sentence, indeed, the lion's share of the conduct alleged by the defendant is decades old, demonstrating that defendant is not currently a risk to the public, as Dr. Dietz and Sorrentino confirmed. Defendant is neither a pedophile nor a sexual sadist. I'm gonna read that again. Defendant is neither a pedophile nor a sexual sadist. I'm gonna read it again. Defendant is neither a pedophile nor a sexual sadist. I'm gonna reread it again. Defendant is neither a pedophile nor a sexual sadist. A doctor, not one, but two, has confirmed this. Not one, but two doctors who's getting paid good money, good money, has not confirmed that he's a pedophile nor a sexual sadist. But let's go deeper. Dr. Sorrentino opined, I considered the diagnosis of pedophilia given Mr. Kelly's alleged history of sexual contact with minors. The diagnosis of pedophilia is used to refer to individuals who experience recurrent, intense, sexually arousing fantasies or sexual urges involving sexual activity with prepubescent child or children, generally aged 13 years of younger. I rejected the diagnosis because Mr. Kelly does not report a history of sexual arousal to prepubescent individual and his sexual behavior has never involved prepubescent individuals. Okay, like I said, where's the 12-year-old? Where's the 6-year-old? Where's the 13-year-old? This is what the doctor said. I rejected the diagnosis because Mr. Kelly does not report a history of sexual arousal to prepubescent individual. And his sexual behavior has never, not sometimes, not most of the times, not almost any of the times, but his sexual behavior has never involved what? Prepubescent individuals. That kills the whole scenario of Rashonda Landfair. Like I said, that couldn't have been Rashonda on that tape at that time. Now let's go here. I considered the diagnosis of sexual sadism. The government I considered the diagnosis of sexual sadism. Given the government's claim that Mr. Kelly's sexual behaviors include sadistic content, the diagnosis of sexual sadism requires the presence of recurrent and intense sexual arousal from the physical or psychological suffering of another person as manifested by fantasies, urges, or behaviors. But guess what? I rejected that diagnosis of sexual sadism because Mr. Kelly does not report a history of sexual arousal from physical or psychological suffering of another. None of Mr. Kelly's sexual behaviors include sexual gratification from the physical or psychological suffering of a sexual partner. In light of the foregoing, the government lacks a basis to conclude that defendant is a danger to the public and must be incapacitated until death. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, defendant contends that any sentence that exceeds 10 years imprisonment is unjustified. Respectively submitted, Miss Jenny from Spinning That Block, Miss Bonjean. Now, here's Exhibit A. Oh my God, this is forensic. This is what we've been saying that he needed. Forensic scientists, also child welfare doctor, also a criminology doctor, also a security doctor. So he is who the government will report to, and he came all the way from Newport Beach, California. Whew. Here we go. Dear Ms. Bonjean, my colleagues and I have evaluated Mr. Kelly with respect to issues the court may find relevant at the sentencing hearing scheduled for June 29, 2022. We interviewed Mr. Kelly for over 14 hours, located and interviewed 10 collateral witnesses who knew Mr. Kelly during childhood, and reviewed the materials of office provided, and a few biographical materials were located. These sources of information are all listed below. Our division of tasks was that Daniel Martell, PhD, conducted neuropsychological testing. Shante Alexander, EDD, conducted collateral interviews. And Renee Sorrentino, MD, and I interviewed Mr. Kelly together. Dr. Martell's report is focused on the neuropsychological testing. Dr. Sorrentino's report contains a complete history and focuses on Mr. Kelly's sexual and relationship history and psychiatric diagnosis. While this report focuses on adverse childhood experiences, illiteracy, victimization during adulthood, The question of coercive control, the effects of stardom, and positive character traits, touching briefly on psychiatric diagnosis, rely on the first-hand observations of collateral witnesses interviewed by Dr. Alexander. Rather than repeat information already known to the court, I focus here on specific information about the history and characteristics of Mr. Kelly identified through or evaluation that may not yet have been brought to the court's attention. Sources of information. Unless otherwise cited in the body of this report, the biographical and first-person accounts included here are drawn from the interviews of the defendant that I conducted jointly with Dr. Sorrentino. Interviews of the defendant. Interview of Robert Kelly at MDC Brooklyn by Park Dites, MD and all that. Renee Sorrentino, MD, 5/24/22, 5 hours and 45 minutes. Interview of Robert Kelly at MDC Brooklyn by Park Dites, MD, you know all that. And Renee Sorrentino, MD, 5/25/22. 6 hours and 40 minutes. WebEx interview of Robert Kelly by Park Dites, MD, MPH, PhD, and Renee Sorrentino, MD, 6/1/22, 2 hours. Forensic evaluation reports. Forensic neuropsychological examination report by Daniel A. Martell, PhD, 6/6/22. Mitigation report by Renee Sorrentino, MD, 6/13/22. I'm going to stop right there for a second. Everybody, and I told you what was going down, everybody was interviewed at separate locations. Okay? At separate locations. Now, let's go here. Collateral interviews. Interview of Janet Edmonds by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/17/22. Interview of Keith Calvert by Shante Alexander, 5/17/22. Interview of Gregory Preston by Shante Alexander, 5/18/22. Interview of Angela Belton by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/19/22. Interview of Reginald King by Shante Alexander, 5/23/22. Interview of Deborah Harris by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/24/22. Interview of Larry Hood by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/24/22. Interview of Carrie Kelly by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/27/22. Interview of Robert Bradley by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/27/22. Interview of Bruce Kelly by Shante Alexander, ED, 5/30/22. Documents. Superseding indictment. Verdict sheet. Defendant Robert Kelly's memorandum of law in support of his supplemental motion for a new trial. Government response to supplemental motion for a new trial. Defendant Robert Kelly's reply in response to the government's memorandum of law in opposition of defendant's motion for a judgment of acquittal. Bureau of Prisons medical records. Pre-sentence investigation report by U.S. Probation Officer Frank Thomas Nicolaitis. Defendant Robert Kelly's objections to the pre-sentence report. Media, video, GX328A, image 0899. Video, GX329A, image 1786. Video, GX330A, image 2303. Video, GX341, A, IMG 2111. Video GX342A, image 2113. Video GX343, IMG 2114. Surviving R. Kelly Season 1, Episode 1. Surviving R. Kelly Season 1, Episode 2. Kelly R. with Dites. Solar Coaster. The Diary of Me. Check it. This is everything they look through. This is all the people, documents, all the documents. This is the people that they talk to. His childhood friends and family. But look what they found. Adverse childhood experiences. adverse childhood experiences, often abbreviated as ACEs, have been the focus of countless studies for more than 20 years. Following the 1998 publication that introduced this approach, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation offers a succinct summary of this research effort. I'm going to stop right there for a second. And I'm going to go back up real quick. So when I read earlier that the government is trying to argue these doctors, and they said, oh, Robert lied. It's not that Robert said that he didn't do it. You got all these people that said he didn't do it. When I told you that it was Pete and people waiting to testify on Robert's behalf, but the PI did not reach out to these folks. Every last one of these folks I have on speed dial. Every last one. Probably except for one. But I can get that number anyway. And when a PI said, nope, I ain't interested, we got it. You cannot battle 5 against 45. You ain't Daniel in the lion's den. You ain't Meshach, Shadrach, and that bad nigga that was walking with that other person by the name of Jesus Christ. And you ain't the dude that fought the giant that beat him with a slingshot. I forgot his name. You ain't Moses. You can't walk into Pharaoh's place and say, let my people go, and then show things that's going to hurt Pharaoh, that's going to make his heart unhardened. You can't do that. So you had the people willing to go. Once again, you had people there that could have testified as a character witness. In spite of what the Don Russell ass lickers say, you had Keith there. You had Bobby there. You had Will there. You had Doobie there. You had me there. You had Doobie brother there. And you had Lex there. Let's keep it real. That's 7 right there. You're a PI. You could have testified as of what you known since you've been in contact with Robert, since you was there stealing mail out the MDC to try to have people turn on Dana J and Levi for Sylvia and her crew. Make it make sense. So when I say things, I come with truth. Now, whether it happened or be shown right then and there, it might not. But it's going to come down the pipe. And what did I tell y'all? It's people waiting. So how is it that, let's go here. How is it that Jennifer Bonjean doctors, not even the PIs, but the doctors can find in such a short time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people in a matter of 2 weeks. But you had 6 months and only could produce 5 people. I don't care what nobody say. You are part of Robert staying in jail. And I don't like it. Even if we see each other, there's no need for a conversation. I would never say nothing else to you. Ever. Because now as it come out, it's a fucked up thing to smile in somebody's face and stab the shit out of them in their back. That can be overlooked at some point. But when a man is at his lowest point, for you to stomp him in his head and then smile in his face and say, I'm a friend. Robert should have asked you what you asked me. When he see you, are you friend or are you foe? Now, I'm not asking nobody to agree with me because that's my personal feelings. But right is right and wrong is wrong. When you move like a snake, you can't be called a dog. Make that make sense. So I agree with Robert. I don't know who the hell to trust. I've been there. I've done that. That's why I start moving the way I moved. Thanks to Bobby, I'm sucker free. And I'm not caught up in that bull crap and the extortion plot of Robert Sylvester Kelly. But all of y'all are. It's good to have brothers that really care about you and don't want nothing from you. That's real brotherhood. Somebody that can tell you when you're wrong and don't got to worry about you getting mad because it's nothing but facts. So I don't got to wait until Bobby turned another year at his birthday to give him his flowers. Same thing go for my sisters that's around. When people around you stand on truth, whether you like it or not, they make sure your truth is their truth. Those are the type of people that you want to keep around. If you have a yes man all the time, get them the hell away from you. And that's on God. I thank y'all for donating. So far, I need 9 more people. If I can get 9 folks to donate $20, I would really appreciate it, as I appreciate everybody that donated so far. I would count and I would put y'all names out there, but I know some people don't want, some people don't want to be shouted out that way. So what I'll say is I'm thankful for everybody. I'm thankful for everybody. And, I want to brag on y'all so bad. But I understand the whole synopsis of this and then people start trying to harass y'all. And I don't want that. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I'm just saying. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. And I'm going to keep saying it. I thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I need 9 more people, though. And before we reach our goal, I need 9 more people. I had to stop and let y'all know what's going on. Also, I'm going to keep it a buck. I start to get choked up, too. So I ain't even going to lie to y'all. I start to get choked up, too. So that's what really was going on. But I need 9 more people. If I can get 9 more people, I'll be good. Okay, that's right. Thank you so much. See what I'm talking about? I appreciate you. David and Goliath. That's what I meant to say. David and Goliath. As much as I'm in church, you would think I already know. But I got that Levi spirit on me tonight. Oh no! I got that Levi spirit. Look, traumatic childhood events such as abuse, neglect, and witnessing experiences like crime, parental conflict, mental illness, and substance abuse can result in long-term negative effects on learning, behavior, and health, often referred to as adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. These type of events create dangerous levels of stress that can derail healthy brain development and increase risk for smoking, alcoholism, depression, heart disease, and dozens of other illnesses and unhealthy behaviors throughout life. Much of the research on ACEs relies on self-reported or parent report responses to questionnaires such as the Adverse Childhood Experience Questionnaire for adults to ensure that information gathered for present purposes was more reliable than more self-report. We sought corroboration or refutation through collateral witnesses, as indicated below. On 6/24/2022, a search of Google Scholar for the phrase adverse childhood experiences study returned about 1,770,000 results. Okay. That's all that relationship. Okay. They break that down. The particular questions asked in ACEs research are not uniform from study to study. As one report notes, there is no single agreed upon list of experiences that encompass what we offer to as adverse childhood experiences. The original ACEs study asked a large sample of adults about 7 childhood experiences: psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, as well as exposure in the home to substance abuse, mental illness, and suicide, incarceration, or violence. Since then, the list of ACEs used in one or more studies has been expanded to include physical and emotional neglect, parental separation and divorce, exposure to violence outside of the home, living in unsafe neighborhoods, homelessness, bullying, discrimination based on race or ethnicity, and experience of outcome insecurity. Citation omitted. During the interview of Mr. Kelly, I asked him the 10 questions in the Adverse Childhood Experience Questionnaire for adults, one of the commonly used versions of this inventory, and he endorsed these 6 of the 10 experiences. Did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or take care of you? Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or other reason? Did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking or using drugs, including prescription drugs? Did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other? Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? Did you experience unwanted sexual contact, such as fondling, or oral, anal, vaginal intercourse, or penetration? In addition, he described several ACEs that were not included in that questionnaire that have been included in other studies, namely bullying, exposure to violent crime, and witnessing death. Below, I synopsize what Mr. Kelly and collateral witnesses said about each of these. But before turning to that evidence, it is important to understand the significance of anyone having actually been exposed to so many childhood adverse adverse childhood experiences. Sachs and Murphy 2018 summarized a large body of research conducted over the course of 20 years. ACEs have been linked to numerous negative outcomes in adulthood, and research has increasingly identified effects of ACEs in childhood. Negative outcomes associated with ACEs include some of society's most intractable and, in many cases, growing health issues: alcoholism, drug abuse, depression, suicide, poor physical health, and obesity. There is also some evidence that ACEs are linked to lower educational attainment, unemployment, and poverty. And childhood children who have experienced ACEs are more likely to struggle in school and have emotional and behavioral challenges. Nevertheless, not all children who experience one of these adverse events, or even more than one, are negatively affected. Much depends on the context in which they occur, particularly the context of positive relationships. Research has found that the risk for negative outcomes increases with the number of ACEs. In other words, children who have experienced multiple ACEs are substantially more likely to be negatively affected than children who have experienced only one. A seminal study published in the late 1990s by Folletti and Dye and their colleagues that first coined the term adverse childhood experiences found that adults who had experienced 4 or more ACEs had a particularly high risk for negative physical and mental health outcomes, including some of the leading causes of death in the United States. Subsequent studies have identified lower thresholds, ranging from 1 to 3 ACEs, as the tipping point at which risk increases greatly. There are likely to be multiple factors that account for individual variation in response to adversity, including genetic predispositions and other biological characteristics, as well as contextual factors such as supportive adult relationships. Citations omitted. The prevalence of ACEs has been explored in large samples, the largest and most adverse of which at the time of publication in 2018 reflected self-report responses in a nationally representative representative telephone survey of non-institutionalized adults in 23 states that included an 11-item ACE assessment in their annual behavioral risk factor surveillance system from 2011 to 2014. In that study of 2014, 157 respondents included in the sample, 15.8%, reported 4 or more ACEs. Participants who identified as Black reported significantly higher ACE exposures than those who identified as white. Many of Mr. Kelly's problems are now known to be adverse outcomes associated with cumulative ACEs, including but not limited to below average academic and literacy skills by kindergarten age, lower school engagement, learning behavior problems, not completing high school, sexually transmitted disease, having 50 or more sexual partners, anxiety, panic disorder, and criminal conviction separately. There is now substantial evidence that a history of being sexually abused as a child is associated with subsequent conviction for sex offenders. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I appreciate y'all so much. I need seven more folks. Appreciate y'all so much. I need 7. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm 7 people away. So if you can do it, then I appreciate it. If not, I understand. But I'm 7 people away. I thank y'all so much. Evidence available as of this writing regarding the ACEs endorsed or reported by Mr. Kelly is reviewed below. Okay. Poverty. Mr. Kelly said, "We were very poor. There was no money except enough to pay for rent and food. They bought their clothes at a rummerage store." What is that? I never heard of that before. "He was often hungry and did not have enough to eat. His mother owed money to a lot of landlords, and when she couldn't pay, they moved, which is why they moved so often and why he attended at least 4 different schools prior to high school." And here's all the doctors and diagnoses and whatever that is. This is blacked out. This is redacted. Whenever you see something like this, that means it's redacted. Whenever you see an open space, but that means redacted. Angela Belton, who was a teenager, was Bruce Kelly's girlfriend, knew Robert as a young boy, and confirmed that he came from very humble beginnings and very much so in poverty. Parental loss. Mr. Kelly was abandoned by his father, whom he had never met. Although he'd heard rumors, he does not know his father's identity. Uh-oh. I wish I would have got this about 2.5 years early. Some of my problems wouldn't have happened. His mother told him that his father left when she refused to have an abortion. His siblings each had different fathers who dropped off Christmas and birthday gifts for them, but his father never did. Carrie Kelly didn't believe that Robert had ever met his father. Bruce Kelly confirmed that Robert's father never visited him and said that Robert saw Lucius as more of a father figure than the other Kelly children did, as evidenced by Robert giving Lucius a black American Express card. About 6 months before his arrest, 2 women claiming to be his sisters asked him to take a blood test. Substance abuse in the home. That's blocked out. Bruce Kelly. That's blocked out. Interview of Angela Belton. Carrie Kelly, Bruce Kelly, Angela Belton. That's redacted. Witness involved, that's redacted. All this is redacted. Interview of Bruce Kelly and Carrie Kelly. That's redacted. Deborah Harris, who had known Robert since grammar school, when she was 12 and he was 14, recalled that Joanne Kelly was strict with the boys and made them abide by her rules, acknowledging that she was more of a troublemaker and got Robert in trouble for staying out too late on at least one occasion. Disparagement in the home. Mr. Kelly responded affirmatively to the question, "Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down?" The interview was terminated by correctional staff before he could provide examples of these. I don't consider this a substantiated. So wait a minute. So correctional staff ended or terminated his interview? What type of stuff is this? Thank you so much, Kathy. What type of stuff is this? You have his interview terminated? You terminate his interview for what? This is about his life. Yo, this is crazy. So they go to any length and support to make sure this man don't have the proper defense that he need. Even on down to the correctional staff. And I think they should be fired. Because this got this man's life in the line or in the balance. I think they need to be fired. Sexual abuse. Mr. Kelly described multiple sources of sexual abuse and premature sexualization, the latter of which, standing alone, is not necessarily an adverse childhood experience. All as redacted. Interview of Bruce Kelly, and interview of Deborah Harris. Wait a minute. Deborah Harris. Okay. I had to go back and look at that. Had to make sure. Okay, y'all, I need 7 more people. If y'all can, please, I need 7 more people. Bullying. Mr. Kelly reported having been teased and bullied throughout grammar school whenever he was asked to read, do math, or take a test. He was embarrassed to be seen as a dummy who can't read or write. He was also teased and bullied for having a big butt, with other children saying he had a girl booty, grandma booty, or stripper booty. During an interview, he hesitated and looked down in shame as he recalled these remarks. Bruce Kelly also reported that Robert was teased by a lot of kids in grammar school because of his inability to read and write, and described him as so shy that he would turn his back to the audience when asked to sing for guests at their home. Deborah Harris said Robert was teased in school because of his clothing and his inability to read. Interview by Bruce Kelly. Interview by Bruce Kelly. Interview of Deborah Harris. Thank you so much to Marley Sports Network. Thank you, bro. Oh, wait a minute. Bro, is that to the channel or is that for the cause? Because that's for the cause and you had to send it to the Cash App and not the channel. I apologize, but either way, I'm thankful, brother. Thank you so much. Larry Hood recalled Robert being teased in childhood. Thank you so much. Larry Hood recalled Robert being teased in childhood because of his clothing. Man, this stuff making me sad. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is really making me sad. Like, how can you pick on somebody like this? We joke and we laugh when I was young, but come on, man. Jeez, bro. Neighborhood crime. He witnessed and experienced gang violence in childhood while playing football in the vacant lot between his home and Mr. Henry's. He was robbed by a gang who beat another boy, the first to run with broken bottles. Jesus. While riding his bicycle to Walgreens with his brother Bruce, gang members wanted to borrow their bikes, so they rode away so fast his paddle broke. They got off the bikes and had to fight. He was injured in the fight. Bruce swung his camera at one of the attackers who ran off. Jesus, Bruce, that's how you feel? Reginald Kahn, a childhood friend, said, "We were around hustlers, dope dealers, drug dealers, pimps, players, and all that. When Mr. Kelly was 14, he was shot in the right arm with a .22 round while riding his bike down the block. He did not recall being shot, but rather hearing a shot, feeling dizzy, and awakening in the hospital. After being shot, he had nightmares about dying, but not about the shooting. His bicycle was taken away after this, and when he became famous, he bought about 50 bicycles. While living at 63rd in Michigan, His mother asked him to go to the store. He always ran to the store, but on one occasion, boys who thought he was running up on them kicked him repeatedly, witnessing death. Mr. Kelly witnessed the drowning death of his first girlfriend Lulu. When they were both 8 or 9 years old and living in Chicago Heights. They and other children snuck through a fence and threw rocks in the river. Lulu got too close to the water and another boy pushed her. She fell in the water and neither she nor the other children knew how to swim, so they did not jump in to save her. He recalled our screaming. Her drowned body was recovered from Lake Michigan, into which the river flows. Lulu's mother, Miss Blank, was Robert's mother's best friend. The whole neighborhood knew of their puppy love, and all around mourned her. For years, he suffered nightmares about this, dreaming of Lulu screaming in the current, and couldn't get it out of his waking thoughts. He never went to the river again, and avoided going near the water when his stepfather fished at the lake. He added, I can't swim to this day. I became concerned that his children learned to swim. Bruce Kelly confirmed that Robert must have been 8 years old when Lulu drowned, and that the family was living in Chicago Heights at the time. And he said that it was a really traumatic event. He described Blank family as good friends of his family. Carrie Kelly recalled that when Lulu drowned, Robert was heartbroken. I could see the difference in him. He said Robert became even more quiet and he'd catch him staring off in space. Illiteracy. Let's see. Hold on. I thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. I'm responding to everybody that donated so far. So 7, 6. I need 5 more people. 4 more people. 4 more people. I need 4 more. If I can get 4 more people to give $20, I very appreciate it. Oh, wow. That's a Dream Team member that just said that. Oh, no. I need 3 more people. I need 3 more people. I thank y'all so much. And I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond. Three more people. 3 more people that can help out. So that's $60. That's $60. I need 3 more people. Illiteracy. Mr. Kelly reported that he does not know how to read, write, or send email. You know what? We ain't gonna play that game. We ain't gonna play that game.
See, the devil busy. See, the devil won't act stupid. But I buy, ooh, he got time of
See, I just.
In my life right now, baby. Well, I don't care who I lose no more. Understand that I'm choosing me. Hello, somebody. That's right. I'm choosing me. I don't care who I lose anymore. I'm choosing me, and I'm way too busy to be focusing on how other folk feel about me picking me. I got some stuff to do for me. That's right. I'm working on my development. I'm working on self-love. I'm working on self-care. I'm working on becoming the person.
That wasn't for me. That was for Robert. Because I got a feeling that Robert is going to be that way. I appreciate it. I need 2 more people. 2 more. So, Illiteracy, Mr. Kelly reported that he does not know how to read, write, or send email. Sylvia, who was sending you emails? Who was sending you emails? Because Robert said he don't know how to read, write, or send email. So, Sylvia, who was sending you emails? As a child, when he first tried to learn to read, the first word that came to mind was hell. He recalled that when he attended a school in Oak Lawn at age 8 or earlier, he sat on the school's porch instead of playing with the other children, wondering what was wrong with him. The teacher had asked the children to take turns reading aloud, which caused him fear. He said he was very scared and remains so to this day when asked to read aloud. He'd pretend he couldn't see, felt like dying, wanted to be home with his mother, and heard other children snickering at him. As a child, he envied those who could read, write, socialize, and speak to people comfortably. He feared that if people looked in his eyes, they could see he couldn't read. I always get that if people could see my eyes or hear me read, they know I was the dummy that I was called at the time. This was among the reasons he began to wear dark glasses at school and when performing. He feared someone would bring out a book or talk about numbers or something he couldn't discuss. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to do that right now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. He said his grades throughout school were mostly F's, except for gym class. He was held back more than once. And at Lewis, Worth, and Hyde Park, he was the only student in the class with a beard. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. In high school, he said, I was way out of my league, and I knew it because he couldn't read, write, or do math. He was silent in class, always putting his head down and acting sleepy. His mind drifted all the time, and he heard music and got a headache, imagining himself somewhere else and trying to forget the things I was terrible at. Wow. Hold on, y'all. You know what? Y'all go ahead and take a break real quick. Y'all go ahead and take a break real quick. I'm going to do it like this. Let's see. Let's see.
Hello.
Hey, little brother.
Hey, sis, how you doing?
Fine. What's going on with you?
Oh, nothing much.
Got your message from earlier this afternoon, and something just didn't sound right. And so I'm calling you back to check on you. How you holding up?
Oh, everything is fine.
You know I don't believe you.
What you saying? You think I'm lying?
I'm not saying that, but I know you.
How you know me?
'Cause you're my brother, and therefore I can tell when something is troubling you.
Okay, I give you that. Nothing's wrong, I take that back. There is something on my mind, but sis, I don't wanna waste your time.
But I done told you time and time again, whatever you're going through, you can come and talk to me, and I will say a prayer with you.
But I done prayed and prayed night and day. I still can't seem to find my way.
Rob, that ain't nothing but the devil telling you that you're washed up and you're through. But sister's here to let you know, boy, you're gonna make it through.
Sister, do you really believe that I can rise again?
Yes, and not only that, Rob, God will forgive you for your sins.
He tell me what to do.
Well, first you gotta believe the truth.
Sometimes it's hard to believe in him.
That's okay, because he believes in you.
The winds, the rain, the storm, the weapons that are formed against us. I will survive the trying times, the sleepless nights. Just know that faith is with us, and I believe, yeah. All of the hills and valleys roll, just where we must come to. Walk side by side, follow the light, and know we'll make it through, yeah. So what you're saying is believe a little more.
Yes, 'cause faith is the key that opens up the door.
What you're saying to me, it's hard to receive, especially when trouble follows me.
When we're keeping it real, Robert, sometimes trouble can follow where you live.
Yes, sister, I know sometimes, but
Just wait, let me make a phone call.
To who?
A prayer buddy of mine, she can help you tear down your walls.
I don't want nobody in my business.
She's a friend, and besides you need this.
You know how church folk can be.
Boy, I'm your sister, trust in me. Now hold on.
Maybe she's gone.
No.
Maybe we ought to just try.
Hello, is Kim there?
Yes, I think she's around here somewhere. Hold on.
Now you just let me do the talking. Hello. Hey girl, how you doing?
Hey Kim.
My little brother's on the line and needed advice from you.
Ooh, what can I do for you? Hello.
Go ahead, Rob, she's talking to you.
Oh, well, I know you must be very busy, so I'm not gonna mess around. I was just telling my sister how my life is upside down, and I don't know whether I'm going left or right half the time. I sometimes think I'm gonna lose my mind. You feel me?
Similar to what I used to go through.
Really?
Yes, and sometimes I still do.
Yeah.
See, it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. If you struggle, God will use you.
Amen, sister. What you're saying is so true. Rob, are you there?
Yes, I'm just listening to the both of you. It's so easy to say, but not so easy to do.
Yes, but if you stand the truth, it will free you.
Oh, just stand strong.
Stand strong.
With your head held high. Said it won't be long. In time he will provide.
Yes, he will.
You just
trying. I know that faith is within. Through all of the hills and valleys and holding, we must come to walk side by side, follow the light, and know He'll give you peace in the midst of your storm. Sometimes I feel like it's too late for me, but He'll never leave you. No way. You just gotta hang on. Robert, stay in prayer. Yeah. Keep your head. God will do just what He said. Finally, I think I get it. Yes, that's it. That's the spirit. All the wind, the storm, winds and rain. They're formed against you. All of your trying times. Know that faith is with us. And through all of the hills, valleys low, give you strength to keep you strong. The devil is a liar. You'll rise again and show the world just who God is. So if you really want, as I do, fall to your knees, then lift your hands and now repeat after me and say, God, I love you. I've sinned. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I love you. Please help me, Lord. I need you to come into my life. Save me. 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 I'm gonna have to call y'all back.
Okay, we back. So he also found some of the testing anxiety provoking as it reminded him of school, and he would become easily overwhelmed. During these times, he was observed to yawn, fidget, wipe his eyes, and become distracted by activity outside the examination room. On formal testing of academic skills, Dr. Martell found that Mr. Kelly had significant impairments in all areas of academic functioning, placing him in the bottom first to third percentiles, and at the early elementary school level, i.e., first to third grade overall. Dr. Martell's testing indicated that Mr. Kelly's cognitive abilities are not even developed, such that his full-scale IQ, which fell in the borderline range, does not adequately reflect his overall level of intellectual ability, which is more likely in the low average range, in part due to his lack of school learning. Carrie Kelly said Robert couldn't really grasp or hold to, like reading, writing, understanding. That's how we knew that it's a gift that's embedded in him from God. Because if he can't read and write, how can he write songs the way that he do? But yeah, I think that kind of disturbs him, and that kind of bothered him, and that made him feel like he wasn't normal. And the way Robert write his song is that he don't write it down. He get a recording device, and he will hum a melody into the recording device, then come back later, and then he'll just get another recording device. He'll play what he humming, and then he'll just say words to match up what's going on until it really makes sense, or until it really hits him. And yeah, that's how you get the hits. So for people that say, how can he write songs if he illiterate? He don't. I've witnessed firsthand. He don't write songs. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on for a second. I gotta figure this out. Hold on. Hold on for a second, y'all. Hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to figure something out. Hold on. That's weird. Okay, hold on. Let's see. You don't say. Hold on. Hold on for a second, y'all. Hold on. This is weird. This is real weird. Okay, I got it. I got it. got it. Okay. Childhood friend Larry Hood said he probably had like a learning disability. You know, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the drawer. You know, as far as you know, he wasn't able to read and write and stuff like that. Anytime he came in tune with something that involves reading stuff, I had to do it for him. Oh, he struggled with his education. Janet Edmonds, a friend since childhood, recalled that as an adult, Mr. Kelly sometimes had her read business letters to him. Keith Calvert, a friend since childhood, said that everyone knew that Robert couldn't read, and that during an after school program they both attended, when others were asked to read aloud, Robert would be asked to sing instead. Mr. Kelly was so ashamed about his inability to read the teleprompter that he never told anyone of this when accepting Grammy Awards despite his great fear. His subjective experience of trying to read is that he gets a headache and watery eyes, feels tired and sleepy, yawns, and hears loud, cluttered music, which he describes as hearing multiple songs at once, as if from a radio, which is confusing. Other triggers to hearing this radio in his mind are trying to learn to spell and trying to learn to play chess. All of these endeavors make him anxious and trigger the radio. As soon as the pressure is removed, he feels better and the radio goes away. As best I could elicit from him, the pressure he experiences is being asked to read aloud in class or interacting with someone who is trying to teach him reading, spelling, chess, or other feared tasks. This radio and the head phenomenon. Hold on. Okay. This radio and the head phenomenon is also central to his composition of music. He said, when a song comes to me, it's on the radio in my head. I hear the bass line. It's complete. It's like I'm cheating on a test. Throughout his youth, various people tried to help him learn to read, including his mother, his sister, his brother Bruce, his stepfather Lucius, and his girlfriend Lanice, when he was about 17. To his knowledge, he never received any special education services. He once saw a video of a woman who can jog but not walk, and this resonated with him because he was able to talk and sing but not read and write. Mr. Kelly eventually created a form of notation that used letters from the alphabet and idiosyncratic spelling so that he could create reminders for himself. Let's see. And he brought notepads to the first day of our examination. At one point, while singing a song he had written, he turned blank pages as he sang, as though reading the lyrics, and used a pair of clear lens glasses as a prop. Wow. At one point, while singing a song he had written, he turned blank pages as he sang, as though reading the lyrics, and used a pair of clear lens glasses as a prop, taking them on and off. He commented that he'd always paid attention to how professors and others took their glasses on and off, and took notes the way Dr. Sorrentino and I were doing. And he wanted to achieve that look. Victimization in adulthood. From the time he had his first break in the music industry, Mr. Kelly was financially exploited. He said that at the time of some sort of audit, he was told his net worth was $900 million. Early in Mr. Kelly's career, he won $1 million. He won $100,000 at a talent show with Natalie Cole, but he said blank stole the money and gave him none of it. Blank introduced him to his lawyer, Daryl Porter, who introduced him to his blank, 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 blank. Barry Hankerson, Aaliyah's uncle, became his manager and was paid 20% of Mr. Kelly's income while charging $1,000 for every meeting. What the heck? Whoa. $1,000 for every meeting? He replaced Hankerson as his manager with blank. Mr. Kelly asked blank to invest his money in a recording studio, a cigar bar, and a keyboard branded with his name. But none of this occurred. Blank instead rented a studio and started Marcadio, a popular restaurant in Chicago. What the hell? All that's redacted. Mr. Kelly said that he had been kidnapped in Nigeria. Jesus. All that's redacted. As it happened, Mr. Kelly had been with a woman the night before, whose uncle was a chief. And after the chief spoke to the woman, Mr. Kelly was given a choice to fly home on a private jet with his girlfriends. Wait a minute, check it. With his girlfriends and auntie, or wait for blank to arrive. Mr. Kelly was prepared to wait, but the chief said the news that R. Kelly was kidnapped was too big, so he had to go home. Bruce Kelly is also described blank financial exploitation. For years, I have told Robert about his trust in nature. He trusts people too much. He wants to be accepted. He wants to be accepted. He wants to be liked, you know. But I used to tell him, you know, because there's a difference between, you know, trusting people and liking people, and just being a fool with the people. You know, blank. After, you know, a year or so, I just started to notice things. I started to get really, really, you know, bad feelings about blank. I suspected that he was taking Robert's money. So I told Robert, you know, you need to sometimes have your own accountant audited. So he felt like, you know, him and blank was friends. Oh man, blank cool. I don't need to. Ain't got nothing to do with friendship. You need to have that guy audited and make sure he's doing with your money what he's supposed to be doing. But he never did. Robert got tired of blank coming to the inaudible when we were playing basketball, telling him he needs to sign checks. Robert got tired of that. So he was like, why can't he sign the checks? Well, I don't have blank. I don't have power of attorney over your, well, we need to do that. And he gave it up. Gave blank power of attorney over his accounts. There it is. There it is. There it is. Robert gave Daryl McDavid power of attorney over his accounts. Now Robert can't even go to the bank and get money himself from, his own money. He has to go to blank to get money. He has to go to Daryl McDavid to get money. And that's when I believe Daryl McDavid, will start running amok. Robert always told him he wants a business. Robert wanted a cigar. He wanted a cigar lounge. And Daryl McDavid would never do anything to try to get Robert a cigar lounge. None of this. Wow. Tomorrow Leaders, what's up, bro? Thank you so much, man. Larry Hoods recounted an incident about which he had firsthand knowledge. Take, for instance, when his jewelry got stolen. I told y'all about this. Take, for instance, when his jewelry got stolen. I was on the Chicago Police Department at the time. So when the detective reached out to me to help him find the jewelry, I told them where one of the guys lived that was involved with the theft of his jewelry. That's when his jewelry got stolen from Run and Shoot. If anybody think I'm lying, anytime you run into anybody that know Robert from a childhood, ask him, was this the robbery that happened at Run and Shoot? I even got the guy a picture that he went to go get the jewelry from, and the guy was like, nah, yo, you know what I mean? Just chalk it up to the streets, man. You're a superstar. I told y'all what's going on. No, man, look, I ain't gonna go there. The detectives were dealing with blank at the time to get some receipts from the jewelry and stuff. Blank was funny about producing the receipts to the detectives for the jewelry and stuff like that. So the detectives came back to me and they were like, man, this blank man, there's something ain't right about him. You need to talk to your boy because he don't want to share the information that we need about his jewelry. He's stealing from your boy. So when I went back to tell Rob about it, Rob, he kind of shunned me off about it, man. He didn't want me to tell him nothing about blank. Bruce said he thought his brother was so trusting because he wanted to be accepted. Okay. Everyone was stealing from him. I mean, they were stealing from him. They were doing whatever they could to survive themselves. Hold that thought. This is a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. My phone was dying. I didn't even know it. Okay. You know what I want to do? I'm going to stop for a second, right? I'm going to say this. I want to thank everybody that helped me reach my goal. I appreciate all of y'all. And I won't let y'all down. Y'all know that. But it's 10:33. I'm only on page 31. I'm going to finish this page. And then we're going to pick this up. We're going to pick this up tomorrow night, leading until Thursday, after I report what happened at court tomorrow. This is a lot. This is a whole lot. This is page 31 of 244. I will never make it tonight. So let's go here. Everyone was stealing from him. I mean, they were stealing from him. They were doing whatever they could do to survive themselves. He would throw parties, but the party is not really for him. The party is for everybody else, because he had been in the back working, and everybody else at the party, and he had come out for a few minutes, but he would go back in the studio room and work, you know. So he did it for his friends can have something to do, and they didn't have to pay for nothing, and he paid for everything. So they became people inviting people to the party, you know, and invite people to the party. But then it got to a point where he started having people to show their ID, because, you know, you got people coming out with any kind of way. And then you got people sneaking people in. Uh-oh. Even Blank stole from him. I wonder who that Blank is. Mr. Kelly said that the last time he saw Blank at his house, Bruce showed up, Blank, and stole his car. The very last time he saw Blank, Mr. Kelly gave him a Fender bass guitar to keep at the studio and told him that if he learned the songs, he'd pay him $2,000 a week to take him on tour. Instead, Blank relapsed and stole the bass. I wonder who that was. 2 months before his arrest, Mr. Kelly went to his bank, Chase Bank, not Bank of America. Chase Bank, for the first time in his life, and discovered he had bad credit. A woman named Rose was kind to him and told him he had multiple accounts but had only $300,000. He took out $10,000 for the first time in his life, and his account was frozen about a month later. Mr. Kelly described multiple examples of false news reports about him, each of which I would consider a form of victimization by the press, particularly the tabloid press, those seeking followers on social media, and those who sell or trade them information, stories, and photographs. In my experience, this is a universal problem for top celebrities, some of whom spend large sums on lawyers, security services, publicists, handlers, fixers, and others to prevent and discourage lobbyists, stories, and unauthorized disclosures of information, and to discourage dissemination. Stop. So if they're acknowledging that everybody have handlers, why are they trying to make it seem like that having a handler is a bad thing? Make that make sense. Mr. Kelly said his first experience with false news reports about him as a celebrity arose from an incident in which he was sitting in McDonald's parking lot with his publicist. By his account, he was in a $500,000 car when police asked or ordered him to exit the vehicle and broke the door when he did not. He said he went limp, and the police handcuffed him to the wall until his lawyer arrived. News outlets reported that the police had pulled him over and ordered him to turn the music down, and that he refused and drove off. But he hadn't been pulled over and did not drive off. Although he wanted to sue the police for how he'd been treated, the matter was resolved when the police department provided a letter of apology. Although he was unsure of the time, even when told of events mentioned in the pre-sentence investigation report. He thought this might have been the incident identified as misdemeanor disorderly conduct occurring at 624 North Clark Street, Chicago, Illinois on 4/6/98. And I determined that there is currently a McDonald's restaurant at that location. Since then, the number of transparently false reports have multiplied exponentially. This coming from a doctor, y'all. Mr. Kelly said it made him paranoid, that every time he turned his back, people tried to get information to use to rip him off or sought to obtain information they could sell. He understood that it was in large measure his inability to read or comprehend arithmetic that made him vulnerable to those predations of those who controlled his business interests and money, and that he had often trusted people undeserving of his trust. Since his arrest, at least one correctional officer has sold confidential information about him. Wow. I'm going to stop at coercive control. Nope, I'm going to keep going with this. The pre-sentence report adopts the government's description of Mr. Kelly and his employees as compromising an enterprise for purposes of RICO prosecution, a characterization that remains in dispute. When I first read about the underlying behaviors put forth as evidence of the enterprise, my first impression was that what was actually being described was the behavior of one man exhibiting the poorly defined pattern of behaviors known in the intimate partner violence literature as coercive control. And this stance, a man in the unusual situation of being surrounded by enablers, based on the interviews with Mr. Kelly, I now question whether even this characterization may be grossly distorted. I asked Mr. Kelly about each of the 14 behaviors that could be construed as coercive control or of his employees, and guess and report below what he had to say about each. Allegation 1, requiring that employees obtain approval before carrying out mundane tasks, such as allowing people to go to the bathroom. Mr. Kelly dismissed this allegation as untrue, despite some kernels of truth that he acknowledged, including his effort to keep order at his studio, particularly the studio in his home, rather than having people wander everywhere and a problem arising when people were left behind during tour bus stops. Described further below, he acknowledged that as a boss, he found he needed to be in control or he'd be taken advantage of at every turn by employees, guests, and people he believed were professionals. Allegation number 2, prohibiting employees from looking at or speaking with any of Mr. Kelly's female guests. Although my notes don't reflect that Mr. Kelly was asked specifically about this, he acknowledged that he didn't want his employees invading his family life or hitting on his wife or girlfriends. His brother Bruce described a change in Andrea's behavior after the marriage. I don't know what to say about him and his wife. He had gotten to the point where he wouldn't even want her to talk to us. And we used to tour together when she was just his dancer. We always talked and, laugh and this and that. But when she became Mrs. Kelly, we would be saying hi to her and she wouldn't say nothing to us, nothing. Childhood friend Larry Hood also observed that Mr. Kelly didn't want men speaking to his wife or girlfriends, which he attributed to Mr. Kelly's insecurity. 3, prohibiting female assistants and employees from speaking with his male assistants in front of his female guests and girlfriends. Mr. Kelly did not directly address this allegation in our interview and appeared not to understand what could have led to anyone perceiving this. Allegation number 4, withholding a portion of employees' salary as a fine if they did not meet Mr. Kelly's expectation. Mr. Kelly reported that he learned to fine people from basketball, as that is a technique used by coaches, with whom he had more experience than employers. Having only worked at a traditional job for 1 month during grammar school, cleaning at a popcorn shop, he said he fined people he should have fired. Whoa. He gave as an example a woman named Diana Copeland, who told him she paid $300 for a coat that cost her $150. She kept $150 of the cash he given for herself. For herself. Suspecting this, he planted $100 where she had found it, and she took it. She lied to him about the cost of the coat, claiming she didn't have a receipt, but he went to the store to check the price. Diana left for 2 years, then came back, told the truth, and he gave her a second chance. Just as he fined people for criminal or dishonest behavior, he would bonus those who did well. For example, giving a $500 tip to a runner who brought him chicken pot pie and served it on a tray with a fork. Bruce Kelly reported that when working on tour, his brother fined him $100 if he found him smoking marijuana in his room. Larry Hood said, some things that he has done to people, like as far as his employees, he's done it because he doesn't know any better. Rob has never worked a job. All he's known to do for his music, is his music. So he don't really know how the workforce go. Like, you having people work for him all type of hours. He don't know that. He ain't never really been in the workforce. Allegation number 5. Jesus Christ. I'm going to stop at allegation 7. Allegation 5. Requiring some employees to provide Mr. Kelly with a letter falsely confessing to bad behavior. Mr. Kelly denied ever requiring employees to write a letter falsely confessing to anything. But he did get written statements from people who stole from him as a condition of continuing employment. For example, a stylist nicknamed Cash Howard, bought him shirts she said cost $300, but really cost $99. He investigated and found she charged him $10,000 for $3,000 of jewelry, even as he paid her $5,000 per week. When he confronted her with her deceptive behavior, she cried. He asked for his money back, said he fined her, and wanted her to write a statement and take Junebug, George Kelly, with her when she shopped for him in the future. He said he got written statements from both male and female employees who stole from him and tried to scam him. Wow. Allegation number 6. Expecting employees to ensure that Mr. Kelly's female guests and girlfriends abided by his rules. He acknowledged having created several rules that he expected people to follow. For parties with alcohol, he required employees to make copies of IDs to limit entry to those 21 and over. Anyone under 21, such as Joy Savage, was limited to the VIP tent because his studio was located at his home after he had children. He had rules to maintain order and appropriate boundaries, such as not allowing other guests to interrupt Michael Jordan when he was playing pool, or Diana Ross, Jay-Z, Lionel Richie, and other celebrities when they were working in the studio. Allegation number 7, requiring guests to receive permission from Mr. Kelly before eating or going to the bathroom. He denied that anyone ever needed permission to eat or use the washroom. His guests ordered Uber Eats constantly. And the studio had plenty of bathrooms. The only thing that could have been so misconstrued stemmed from a problem that emerged when people were traveling on 5 tour buses and stopped at truck stops. People sometimes shopped at the truck stop and got left at stops, requiring the bus to return to pick them up. When this became problematic, he made a rule that the lead bus driver must check that all passengers were present before leaving. Sometimes when they were behind schedule, he asked that nobody get off the bus when they stopped to refuel. Once got off without telling anyone and was left behind, so he told her, blank once got off without telling anyone. Dominique once got off without telling anyone and was left behind, so he told her not to get off without telling Diana or him. Allegation number 8. I said I was going to stop at 7, didn't I? Requiring female guests to wear baggy clothing unless accompanying Mr. Kelly to an event or unless otherwise instructed by him. Mr. Kelly said that men attending shows were so disrespectful to my girls when they were in the front row dressed up, looking great, that he got off the stage to protect them more than once. He suggested the women dress down to avoid this, which they did, relieving them of the problem. Allegation number 9. Prohibiting guests from looking at other men and instructing them to keep their heads down. He said the attractive women he had around him told him that his homies were always hitting on them. So he suggested techniques that they could use to cut off such sexual harassment and prevented disrespect, including dressing down and not engaging with them. That's fair to me. Allegation number 10. Requiring guests to address Mr. Kelly as daddy. Mr. Kelly said, it's a hood thing, a cultural thing. All girls call that man daddy. Women who called him daddy during sex would continue to call him daddy in front of others to establish their position. New women would hear others call him daddy, so the name stuck. When women called him daddy, it made him feel they really loved him. He felt good about it. But other names were fine too. It would be a turnoff to make a woman call him daddy. So he didn't instruct women to call him daddy, as that would be cheating. Even fans he never met call him daddy, and other fans call him the king of R&B. But he didn't promote or require either nickname. Azriel called him Bear or Papa Bear. Males called him Big Bro. At MDC Brooklyn, other inmates call him Pops or Uncle Rob or Unc. Allegation 11. Obtaining sensitive information about sexual partners and retaining control over these sexual partners. Mr. Kelly said he broken up with lots of women and never needed sensitive information. Allegation 12. Creating embarrassing and degrading videos of sexual partners. Mr. Kelly acknowledged creating sex tapes and said he done so for 2 reasons. First, it's a turn on, and I like to look at it. Second, he didn't want anyone to be able to say he made them do it or rape them. This idea occurred to him when he began hearing rumors accusing him of making Andrea sign a prenup or brainwashing her. He said he lost custody of his children because of her lies. Likewise, a hair braider, which is hot water, who fellated him, who fellated him, fellated him repeatedly for years, accusing him of forcing her to do this. But when caught in a lie about this, the accusation went away. He used videotape to prove everything was consensual and everyone was of age. Mr. Kelly said that Blank was into all the kinky stuff and introduced him to scat sex. After a scat session that was shown in court, he and Blank had sex and went to Starbucks together. What? Sometimes Blank spanked him. He mentioned a video in which Blank wore a nun outfit and he wore a priest outfit. Mr. Kelly said that Blank could leave whenever she wanted to, and she did leave several times. Blank, whatever that was, Blank, which he said she did. She admitted she tested Mr. Kelly by asking him to invite nephew Blank to join. Oh my God. I just realized who that was. She admitted that she tested Mr. Kelly by asking him to invite nephew Blank to join them for sex. Oh my God. Allegation 13. Shit. Isolating female guests from their friends and family. Mr. Kelly said the women isolated their families because of the family's antics, such as putting out falsehoods about their daughter being a sex slave. Mr. Kelly couldn't even make some of the women go home. One example he gave of parents alienating their daughter involved a woman named Blank, whom he said fell in love with him. Blank, 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 blank. Golly, this paragraph. When he met her, she had an ID indicating she was 18. Geronda. Hold on. Let me see something. No, Azriel. When he met her, she had an ID indicating that she was 18. And while Mr. Kelly was with Blank in a hotel room, her mother texted her with instructions on how to seduce him. While the parents were in the hotel lobby pretending to look for their daughter, the parents called the police, then lied to the police about her age. When the police arrived at the hotel room, Blank showed them an ID saying she was 18. What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? I told y'all that Azriel had the fake ID. What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? I keep telling you, I'm not going to make nothing up. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. Because one thing about it, if you show a police an underage ID, everybody in that room going to jail. Everybody. Everybody. I do that for a living. Everybody going to jail. If I get called to a scene, right? Or if I get called to any situation, whether I'm in a school, whether I'm on the street, it don't matter. First of all, I'm already going to know the legal age of consent in that state. If that person is 30 days off from being the legal age, everything in that room is being seized. I'm going to lock her up. I'm going to lock him up and any other person up. And then I'm going to call her parents and we all going to meet at the police station and we going to sort this sugar honey iced tea out. So let's finish. While Mr. Kelly was with Azriel in a hotel room, her mother texted her with instructions on how to seduce him while the parents were in the hotel lobby pretending to look for their daughter. The parents called the police, then lied to the police about her age. When the police arrived at the hotel room, Azriel showed them an ID saying she was 18, and the police spoke by phone to her parents who confirmed she was 18. What the fuck? I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone. When her mother pretended she was concerned because Azriel wasn't answering her phone, Azriel said, "You're the one who told me to turn the phone off because you're with a celebrity." What the fuck? Azriel later admitted she'd been 17 and that her mother had been sending texts that she'd be at the hotel. Mr. Kelly sent her home the next day. The parents, who had also lied to Mr. Kelly about their daughter's age, tried to get him to approve a marketing of a dildo molded on his penis, and to use her father's $3,000 lights for shows instead of the $2 million lights he was using. He said there is a 40-minute recording of Azriel telling her father that it was the parents who lied to the police about her age, but the court couldn't allow the defense to introduce this evidence. Another example involved Joy Savage's parents, whom he said lied to her during the COVID pandemic to try to get her to come home, telling her that her grandmother was dying. When Joy's grandmother did die, she wasn't told by her family, but he learned of it from his lawyer and told Joy during the visit. The press then reported falsely that Mr. Kelly made Joy visit him instead of going to her grandmother's funeral, but Joy knew the truth. Y'all asked for this shit. Y'all asked for this. This what happened when the government want to push the truth when a man just want to be free. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. Wait a minute. So people can't say that Robert is lying? Pre-sentence investigation report by U.S. probation officer Frank Thomas Nicolaitis. This man ain't gonna put his job, his profession on the line just to lie for some goddamn Robert Kelly. Make this make sense. Oh, I don't see the government doing a rebuttal about this, though. I don't see the government doing a rebuttal about this. Everything I have told y'all is now coming out. But guess what? Dana don't know Robert. Dana the mole. Dana trying to set Robert up. Dana is the reason why Robert got convicted. And everybody that believe that shit, stay the fuck away from me. And I know who you are. I mean that. It ain't no coming back from that. Allegation number 14. Making female guests dependent on Mr. Kelly for financial well-being. With respect to this claim, Mr. Kelly said that the women lived with him and he supported them, paying for flights, rent, Uber, meals, gifts, shopping, and more. Gregory Preston, who drove and provided security for Mr. Kelly throughout his career, said he knew all the girls who traveled with Mr. Kelly. They all knew me as Uncle Greg. I never had no issue with them. They all spoke when they got the chance. They all called me Uncle Greg with a big smile on their face, looking nice. Like I said, they were well dressed, makeup on, expensive shoes, nails polished, mink coats. Not unexpectedly, those who knew Mr. Kelly best spoke in his defense. Some had firsthand observations related to the allegations that may not have been represented in the trial record. Bruce Kelly said, I know for a fact that a lot of these women have been lying. Uh-oh. You know, I worked for Robert. I worked for him since 1990, on and off until 2015. Now, me and my brother's relationship has never been perfect. We go through things like families, just like anybody else, you know. But I do know that people had taken advantage of him. They went through a lot of money, and I'm watching it unfold. I'm watching these things unfold, you know. But basically, what they say he did, you know, it's actually crazy. Roberts never kidnapped anybody or held anybody against their will, and I told y'all that too. The doors have been open for anybody to leave at any time. So how in the world can he be found guilty of kidnapping? You see these girls outside smiling and laughing that nobody kidnapped me. I used to make travel arrangements for different girls and females and stuff. Each had to go to the airport with ID to get their tickets. They had to be of age. When I used to call girls at his parties, they used to do NDAs, and we would take their driver's license or state IDs, make photos and copies of them and attach them and make sure they were of age, you know. And I mean, I'm watching these different parents. I'm there when, you know, they were present. I'm there when they called the police in Orlando. And the girl says, I'm not. She's 19. The parents say she's 19. You know, what is that? What are you doing? Oh, now you're saying she's underage. They had different plans. What I see on social media and what I see what's going on in court are two different things. They're totally different. They're totally two different things. You can clearly see the things. You know, some of these parents had a big and brighter idea. And now that it's not going on, they want to see him put away. I'm going to stop right there, man. I'm going to stop right there. We going to finish this. But like I said, I thank the Dream Team, friends and family, for helping me achieve my goal. This means a lot to me. We are one. We all we got. I will continue this tomorrow night after I leave court and after I get a bite to eat in New York. All right? Y'all be blessed. I will see y'all all day tomorrow. I want y'all to remember one thing. One thing I want y'all to remember. And I'm going to look at y'all. I thought I had it on the whole time. I'm sorry. I got the pages going. I want y'all to remember one thing. No matter how bleak it looks, keep God first in everything that you do. Keep God first in everything that you do. Keep God first in everything that you do. I appreciate all y'all. I'm about to take care of the logistics part of my flight. And I'm going to get ready for tomorrow morning. Early tomorrow morning. Y'all be blessed. Let's continue praying for Robert. Let's continue praying for one another. But I do want to do this before I go. I want to pray for people that have been bullied in their life. I want to pray for people that have been bullied in their life. While I was reading, I was getting text messages from 17 different people. that said, thank you for reading this, because this is hitting home. And this is closure for me to know that other people is going through this. So I'm going to say this. Father God, in the name of Jesus, I pray right now. Lord, I ask you, can you touch the people that's ever been bullied, that's being bullied constantly now, that's trying to put the pain of yesteryear and or today behind them. Let them know that they don't have to be bullied anymore. Let them know that's all you got to do is stand up to a bully, and that bully will leave you alone. But the first step is believing. Believing that you can win in everything that you do. Lord, I ask you, can you touch the finances of everybody that's connected to me, as you have prophesied to me through one of your prophecies, that my life will be blessed because I was connected to certain pastors, and I still am. So I want the people that's connected to me lives to be blessed as well. Lord, I dare not to be selfish with your blessings. And I dare not to be selfish with the knowledge that you have bestowed upon me to learn. Lord, I ask you, can you use me as a vessel when I'm behind the screen to enlighten people, to help people to learn. For it took me 15 years to learn how to really read. So I know how it feels. It took me, and to this day I still can't write, but I try my best. Lord, I ask you to help the ones that fall into the same category that Robert is in, that I was in, that other folks are in. Lord, I ask you, can you give them a sense of security and let them know that they can stand in any arena with people who can read fluently. That's all they got to do is trust you and depend on you. Lord, I ask you, last but not least, can you touch the families of everybody that's connected to the Dream Team? Restore all families. Restore all relationships. Restore all father and son reunites if there's been any gap. Any father and daughter reunites, restore, and repair everything as new. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Yeah, we definitely gonna do it. Tomorrow I'm gonna lead a prayer off tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning before I get on the plane. And we're gonna lead the prayer off for Robert early in the morning. And then I'm gonna do another prayer when I get to New York. And then I'm just gonna let God move. All right? I thank y'all so much. And guess what? It's 11:12. It's 11:12. For the devil and all of your imps, understand one thing when it comes to the Dream Team and Robert Cester Kelley. Understand this.
This is not the type of tea I want.
It's over for you.
This is not the type of tea I want.
It's over for you.
Yo, what up, my nigga? When I was in the hood, I just thought I'd stop by and holler at you for a minute. Pour out a little liquor or something. Nigga, we done been through a whole lot of shit together. From running these streets to being down for whatever. And now that you're gone, I got a whole lot of shit to tell you. Things I should have said way back when we was younger. Remember when we used to roll hand in hand? And now I'm tripping on how I really miss you, man. And remember when you and me would say we get up out this hood and everything would be okay. It's all good now, my nigga, we out the hood now. We have the same ideas, but not the same careers. We share the same old laugh, but not the same tears. to God I love you for that shit. Why you had to get hit? Where was I? What time was it? You were supposed to get older with me. On stage, hands on shoulders with me. Copping them Range Rovers with me. Sitting on things and smoking trees. And if it wasn't for the will that God had made, I turn back the hands of time and take your place. Sitting here sipping on this Hennessy, just thinking about what you meant to me, my nigga. You're gone, you will always be my nigga. Know you made it home, I'm still missing you, my nigga. I'm feeling like the timing was wrong, my nigga. Know you're smiling down, saying carry on, my nigga. Sometimes my nights can get long, my nigga. Sometimes I feel God did me wrong, my nigga. So I had to write a song, my nigga, just to let you know that you're still my nigga. Your little son is looking at me like, where's my daddy? And your 13-year-old daughter is mad cause she understands. Promised your mama I'd take care of the family, but she's so hurt she turns away my helping hand. Damn, I wish your ass was here, my nigga. Grow that gray beard and smoke that cigar, my nigga. And we would talk about you getting up out this game. And you would tell me how it keeps calling your name. Ride, never afraid to ride. But sometimes we asking the Lord why. They tear down these projects. We were homies for like 20 thug years. They were. Sat in church and cried the same thug tears. You remember when Vibe World premiered? Now we used to share the same old gear. And remember when you and me would say we get up out this hood and everything would be okay. It's all good now, my nigga, we out the hood now. It's so easy for folks to say, Rob, just live on, when I'm dying every second that you're gone. Nevertheless, I try my best to be strong. Hoping you said your prayers before you went on home. We done stood on these blocks and just shot the breeze. We slap box dead in the middle of the streets. And if a fight broke out, you would take up for me. Now all I have left is these good old memories.
Yo, dog, I can't explain how I miss you. We stayed together, copping cane, popping pistols. I miss you most, putting the do-rag over your bean head. Even out the hood on the scene, you brag. Coming up off the fiends with bags, running up out the cleanest jag. You was the closest nigga I had. Look how we stayed aces. Hustle made big faces. I wish we could trade places. Fuck giving you ice, I'd rather give you life. And the things that I had, I give you twice. What the deal, my nigga? I know you holding it down. If you could see me, you would say I'm talking soft right now. But it's hard for me to say when I'ma see you again. And I know it's fucked up, I gotta talk through this pen. But you died for the love of the dough, the love of the block. 16, you was running the spot. Boy, your mama used to hate how we stood on the curb, hanging with wild thug niggas, smoking the herb. I'ma keep pouring this liquor, and that's my word. This here's for my niggas that be flipping them birds. Word up.
Always be my nigga. I'm feeling like the time it was wrong. Radio, please don't take the nigga out this song. Let it play on. Sometimes I feel play on, play on, play on. So I had to write a song, my nigga, just to let you know that you're still my nigga.
Said I wanna take her, dipping your